Hello, and welcome to Sutro Sidetalk, episode 178. I'm your host, Kamran Shushtar, and with me is...
James Seelig.
And once again, we are joined by my friend, Miles Dill.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I think the last time you were on was our Top Gun Maverick episode, which was a really fun time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
That was probably the last time I went to the movie theaters.
I think also, I want to say we haven't done any Up to It, Down to It since. Like, I think Top Gun Maverick came out after our last Up to It, Down to It episode, which...
Yeah.
If you guys ever want to see more Miles, he's on that show, which we haven't really done any episodes in quite some time, but hopefully reviving that soon enough. This is Sutro Sidetalk. We talk what we watch and play, and this week we don't really have any news. Instead, it's actually the day after Christmas. We took a week off, which was kind of needed. We were both pretty busy, non-stop stuff, honestly.
Yeah, like me and my brother got COVID like for almost the second week of December, so we were both like basically quarantined to our rooms for like half of December. So by the time we actually were both able to like go out and do stuff, we had like a week to set up all the Christmas shit. So I was just like, when you were like, hey, can you record today, or are you maybe fine skipping a week? I was like, I've got so much shit to do. Maybe we could skip a week, that'd be fine.
Yeah, it worked out okay. Yeah, it was straight up. I got my tree, I think, like the week before Christmas. I was just like walking around Home Depot with like an 8-foot tree over my shoulder, and everyone's just like, "How are you carrying that?" And I'm like, "Just do it."
You lift
Physics.
Yeah, you just lift. But everyone have a good Christmas.
Yeah,
it was a good time. I always forget how much I enjoy Christmas. Like it comes and I'm like, wow, what a happy time of the year. And then like, well, yeah, it's Christmas.
Miles, what was the temperature for you? Because since you're on the island and stuff.
Dude, it's been ice cold, freezing.
Really?
What's 9 degrees?
59 degrees. So normal San Francisco weather. Okay.
I mean, it's cold in Bermuda. It's humid here, so it gets extra cold.
Yeah, we got it's like 50. It's usually our normal is like 54 to 66. I want to say that's like our normal temperature.
Whoa.
It's been getting cold in like the mid 40s at night, and it's just like for us that's freezing.
We should start getting actually rain in a couple hours. Might even start
it's supposed to rain like basically all week.
Yeah, there's like a flood warning, which I cracked up about. We don't get floods, and I'm like,
I've been seeing that for a week, and I'm like,
give us a lot of water. Yeah, just give us water. We still need a lot of water, so that's okay.
You know, we got in a ton of rain too. Like this is the rainiest Christmas I've ever had.
Dang.
Like seriously.
James, you don't know him, but our friend Joel, I talked to him, and he said in the Cayman Islands in the Caribbean, it's like 84 degrees right now. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
Damn.
Equatorial.
That's a nice Christmas.
Yeah, being on the equator must have its perks, I'm sure. Perpetual tropics.
Yeah.
But we are here to talk Avatar, The Way of Water, the James Cameron movie. I think the first movie we've had since really the last Avatar, which was 2009.
Has he not done anything?
No, he's produced. But otherwise, he's
been
so hard at work on this set of films where he's been trying to kind of do like 2 through 5, more or less back to back to an extent. He really just did 2 and 3, and then part of 4, a little bit of 4, I think.
Yeah, there's
so
been
far
news stories saying he's already shot scenes for 4 and 5.
Yeah,
3 and 4 maybe.
I think it might just be whatever is underwater related, because it sounds like he wants to do more than just he wants to do different biomes still each time.
Yeah, maybe we'll get into it later, but I don't know exactly what he would do for the next one. And how many are there supposed to be total? Like 5?
5.
So
but now he's already
5. Yeah, and I think they've already made enough money despite what old TikTok was trying
900 million already.
Yeah, people were like, it needs to like score like $1 billion to break even.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's not an issue. Yeah, it's already 900 million. It's been less than 2 weeks. So
I think one thing that made me laugh about hearing all the detractors leading up to this movie was like, here's like all these armchair movie critics and filmmakers and whatnot that really think the guy who made like these projects wouldn't know how to budget this one correctly. Like they genuinely thought like he was gonna like just go out there and lose money. Like
yeah, the guy who made Titanic knows how to make money on a movie.
Yeah, like it's almost like he's got it down to a science, and no one wants to like respect that, even though, like someone could just be that good at making movies as like a project. Like I just think he's like an excellent project manager. Might have some flaws as an artistic director, but in terms of, I guess, using the amount of money he's been given, like goodness grief, like the guy clearly has like a genius for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
considering like if you look at his prowess, the man sold aliens literally by going alien S money sign.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Like,
The other factoid I heard is this guy's like the Chuck Norris of filmmaking now. It's getting like absurd. But Escape from New York, they didn't have a matte painting for New York. So when he was like a lowly guy on set, he was just like, "Yo, I'll paint it." And then they're
For
like, "You
real?
really can do this?" And then he made the matte painting of New
that's
York. He
That's
amazing.
did that
insane.
by hand. Yeah.
I did. You know what's funny? I didn't know he worked on Escape from New York, and with James, you were with me, but we went to the Alamo, and they were doing like behind the scenes stuff of James Cameron, and it was like, yeah, before he worked on like even his directorial debut with like Piranha, he had worked on like John Carpenter's stuff, and I was like, what? Like that
Yeah.
is actually really cool, and I forget like how much older John Carpenter is than James Cameron, and that kind of put things into perspective.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. But yeah, Avatar: The Way of Water. I think we've all James, you've seen it once. Miles and I have seen it twice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a third time.
Yeah, I think
I
I'll go a
might
third time.
I might want to see it again the second time in IMAX.
Yeah, that's why I'll go
Chris
again.
doesn't want to see it in IMAX and 3D because he's like he doesn't want to spend like $30 on a ticket.
I'm just
I
so
checked, it's
curious
only
what the 3D looks
$20, but
like. Like I'm so curious because I've seen I've seen it
I
in
feel like
Dolby
it'd be better
Atmos.
for this movie because it's like almost entirely
Yeah.
just animated.
Yeah. No, I think it'll I think because the whole thing is this film was a lot of it was done in 60 frames. And because of that, your eyes are literally
That's why I
trying
want to watch
to
it in
keep up with
IMAX for
everything
like
when
the
it
better screen and
moves.
stuff.
Yeah, anytime you thought the
Hmm.
movement was weird, it was because the frame rate was so high and more realistic, and you're like, oh,
It's like
my
it
eyes.
feels too smooth for a movie. Like
Yeah.
and so even playing games in like a higher frame rate nowadays,
Whoa.
watching a movie, it feels weird when it's too smooth. It
Yeah.
feels like it's
Yeah.
going in fast forward, but it's not.
It also has that weird effect. I noticed it in The Hobbit and Gemini Man, but it'll look like GoPro footage and not like a movie sometimes.
It
Yeah,
looks like they're sped up almost. Like it's a
I
weird like
Yeah.
literally
fast forward frame.
for some of the scenes I was like, this looks like a really good PlayStation 5 game or whatever, which
Yeah.
makes me excited for the actual game that's coming out at some point.
It's supposed to be
Yeah.
April, I
Yeah.
think, or
Yeah.
something. It was supposed to come out this year, and then it was delayed. Same with Hogwarts, but uh, yeah, this movie, I guess, like to put it in perspective, first, I saw it in Dolby Cinema, which meant it was going to be the best, I guess, visual format, not like best
Whoa.
Is that
size.
actually better than IMAX or?
Dude, it's stupid. They show you the color of like here's the theatrical black you get in all other theaters. Here's the black color you get in Dolby Cinema, and it's actually insane how different they look. Like, they make the theatrical black almost look gray, and then the
Whoa.
actual Dolby black is just like this, just full on like pitch black, and it's amazing how much more color saturation there is in Dolby Cinema. Which is why I prefer
Dang.
cinema over
Damn.
IMAX at this point.
I
But
might actually go for that instead of IMAX then, if it's that much better.
it's amazing looking, and then the sound is phenomenal because it's not just surround sound; it's full on Atmos, which means like you'll have actual
Atmos is
sound.
amazing.
Yeah, sound from above and below. So like I watched Top Gun in that, I watched this and that,
Ooh.
and the whole time watching this movie in Atmos, during fights, the explosions were so much that my seat was literally from the sound. There are theaters now that almost make your seat like a weird little roller coaster ride. It'll actually move and stuff, and you'll get sprayed in the face
Yeah,
with water.
4DX.
Yeah, but it's super weird. But I haven't done that yet. In Atmos, it was just the sheer sound coming in, making your seat shake, and you're just like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Like
The
in an
movie was that
explosion,
powerful.
it was that powerful. It was amazing how good that
Dang.
was. Yeah. And then
Dude, I
second,
watched it in the exact opposite conditions. Like Bermuda's got a tiny theater. Like I'm sure there's TVs bigger than it. But
how many seats
I
does it
still thought it
usually
was
have?
captivating. Go ahead.
How many
Sorry.
seats does your theater usually have, like for one?
Oh boy, it's less than 100. Like,
Okay.
Oh,
I mean, that's not too bad. Like a lot
yeah.
of, I feel like most theaters are like that, except for IMAX. IMAX is like the one where it's like, oh, like 150, 200 seats. There you go. Everyone can fit in now. But most
also
of
the
it.
front row is like still way too close.
Oh, IMAX front row is actual like
You might as well
that's like
not
a
watch the
torture.
movie.
You walk out and you're like this walking out, like, hello everybody, how did it go? And you're just like, what's wrong with you? It's like I can't look down anymore. Like my head
Yeah.
is like my neck is stuck. Like it's fully stiff now. It's I've done it. I forgot what movie I watched it in, and I was like, this is great. And I walked out and I'm like, I can't look down.
One of the worst experiences I've ever had in IMAX was like me and my family went to see, I think it was like Harry Potter 3, and they had it in 3D. And I guess like the only seats they had available were like way up front. And like, I don't think it was like literally the front row, but it was like close enough that, you know, how if you don't sit in the sweet spot for 3D movies, it like you'll get, you know, double images or whatever. Like we basically couldn't look at the sides of the movie because it was just like it was too close for the glasses to like make it work.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
Wow.
cool. Why do you even sell tickets for the first 3 rows if it literally is like unwatchable in 3D?
You get the Mr. Krabs meme where it's his eyes and it's all blurry and you're like, oh, like that's kind of the reaction for
At least
it.
I got
I
those
feel like I
special
just
Harry
walked
Potter
out.
shaped
That's
glasses.
such a rip.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane. But otherwise, yeah, Avatar was great. For me at least. Did you guys enjoy it? Just small before we get into
I
the
really
full
liked it,
discussion.
but probably this will come up again for the length conversation that you wanted to go on.
Hmm.
The whole time I was watching this movie, I was like, you know, the plot's okay. I kind of like the characters. They're like some of them I like more than others, but I don't really care about them nearly as much as like just learning more about the world of Pandora. So when you asked me
Hmm.
at the end of the movie, like, you know, what do I think? I was like, I honestly think I'd rather these movies just be like National Geographic series about like the life of Pandora, voiced by David Attenborough. So it's just like I very much enjoyed it, but not for the reasons that James Cameron probably wanted me to enjoy it for. Although he probably also still wants people to like the world building and shit. It's just like he would probably also like me to care as much about the characters and whatnot.
Hmm.
That's a pretty sound point. I agree with some of the sentiments. Like the two thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. The two criticisms I have, because conversely, I would say everything I enjoyed about this movie and I thought was pretty good. But the two flaws I see, the one that overlaps with everybody is I the second time was too long. I thought it was
Eh.
really awesome the first time, but then it feels like watching filler again in an anime where you're like you know what happens and you're like okay I could watch the
We're getting a
first time.
flashback again. It was the same
Eh.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the flip side, the other one is I guess this might be somewhat relevant to what you're saying about like the nature documentary and such. Is I feel like James Cameron is such a mechanically minded individual in terms of like making the production. So like everything about the production is perfect. So in a way, he thinks that the structure of this movie is flawless and unprecedented, which actually makes sense from his perspective working on this movie because just look at it. Like everything came, there was no scandals on set, no accidents, like everything came through. It looks great. There's
Oh
no
yeah, I
egregious
can't think of
bloopers.
anything like that.
And then on the flip side, us as audience who watch so much content and we have all our different frames of minds and references and stuff, for us, I feel like those really robust pillars are just as mundane as like the pillars underneath a highway. Like they do their jobs perfectly, but to us, they're like that's boring. I don't want to look at a pillar. Like so like the movie is a mechanically a great movie. It's just that the pillars or what it used to construct itself are just tropes that people I think are too used to seeing
Hmm.
or have even like stigmas against. Like something I always kind of leverage against some critics I do see online because I always talk highly of it whenever I get a chance, and naturally there's people who talk badly of it whenever they get a chance. And one thing I really noticed is I guess video games have really affected the perception of movies and how they're made as well as how they're viewed. So like one thing I find kind of funny is because this is a movie where the bad guys are these really charismatic military sci-fi guys. I feel like there's like this subconscious reflex that like they should be able to do more, or like you as the audience member are almost helpless watching them get killed. So you get like a negative connotation from that. So I feel like that zeitgeist met with like the James Cameron arrogance thing to like this movie being very safe and conservative. That like I almost wish James Cameron made a riskier story to break those archetypes. Like there was a lot of, I guess, negative betting against him, and I wish he made a more bizarre movie to get out of that spotlight instead of kind of doubling down on what worked in the first movie. But I'm also glad with the movie we got too, because you know that I guess that saved it from being like a Jupiter Ascending or like a movie that's big and dysfunctional.
That's true. I guess then getting into the length, it was 3 hours and I believe 48 minutes. Was that? It was 192 minutes. It is 3 hours and 42 minutes. So
Whoa.
No, it wasn't 4 hours long almost.
It's got to be shorter than that. I thought it was like 3 hours 20.
Yeah, I think it's like almost 3 hours, I thought.
It was, let me double check. I had it a second ago. 1 second. I'm pretty sure it was
Google says 3 hours 12 minutes.
3 hours 12 minutes. Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, my bad then. 3 hours 12 minutes. I was thinking, yeah, 192, which is, yeah, sorry about that. 192 minutes. It's 30 minutes more than the first movie, which was then that one was 2 hours and 42 minutes. That's what it was. I was mixing up that. But that was the original. So yeah, this one was over 3 hours. We haven't really gotten something like that in a while. Besides, I guess you would say, how long was the Batman? The Batman was something of a length.
It was also about 3 hours, I think.
It was like 2.5 hours, or was it? I want to say. Otherwise, it was really what the Avengers movies, like
2 hours 56 minutes.
Okay, so but the Batman was close. We had the last two Avengers movies, so we haven't really gotten anything lengthy in a while. And you know, the one that always was perfect length for us is probably what the extended Lord of the Rings trilogy. And if you treat that as a as one film, it's basically a 12-hour movie that you're just kind of like, yeah, I could do the whole thing. It's fine. But you mean you also can take breaks from it because we never had it in theaters really at that length. It was only after when it was released. But for Avatar: The Way of Water, I did feel like the length was long, but it wasn't as long as I thought it felt. So like
yeah,
I mean, it's like when you watch it, you're like, the first time I came out of it, I'm like, it was long, but it didn't feel as long as I expected it to be. Like it felt shorter considering the length it actually was. So it didn't feel as bad. And I think that was at least a plus on its side. But yeah, it's still incredibly long. And I think that probably is something that off-puts a lot of people, especially nowadays when people's attention spans are lacking at this point.
I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that might be why I was like, I got the idea of, man, I would prefer these to be like National Geographic like episodes, because like I wouldn't mind the 3 hours of runtime if it was 3 separate 1 hour specials or whatever. But
yeah,
like that doesn't really sell in the movie theater, I guess.
It's also like, yeah, it's a completely different thing than you're talking about
so it's
at this
like
point.
So I kind of agree with you that like it didn't feel like 3 hours long. Like I was expecting it to feel like I was there like all night, and I was just like, oh, we're already almost done. Oh, okay. Because like I was the entire time I was at least engaged and interested in like learning about a whole other way of life on a different part of Pandora, just like in the first one. Like that was the main reason why I liked the first one so much, was I was like, this is like a completely different way of life, and it's so interesting to learn about. And I had the same exact feeling for this one, where I wanted to learn about all this stuff. So I was fine spending that time. But it's just like, that is a lot of time to ask people to sit like in one sitting. Although to be fair, James Cameron was like,
Yeah.
"Don't worry about it. Go to the bathroom. You'll see it twice."
Fun
I
fact.
mean, he's right on that. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the second time I watched it, I went and got a pizza and came back. And was like, I was fairly content because I was like, I'll just watch this again. Like, I
Yeah.
really need to see these scenes.
what was crazy for me was I actually didn't go to the bathroom either time, and it wasn't like I was holding it either. I felt fine, and I'm like, wow, this is, I think, the most insane setting for me personally, because usually that psychological feeling of seeing or hearing water
There's a lot of water in
a
that
lot,
movie.
that would make me want to
Yeah.
go. And that's happened before, where straight up, even like if you make something cold, like if sometimes you'll be driving in the car and the air conditioner's too much and you're cold, and you're all of a sudden like, ah, crap, I gotta pee. Like that,
Yeah.
that's kind of stuff happens. And for some reason, watching this movie not once but twice, 3 hours and 12 minutes each time, insane amounts of water, the sound of water, and I'm drinking stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I don't need to. I'm good. I can sit here the whole time. There's no issues. I can even sit through the credits without issue either. I'm totally good. And
Really.
afterwards, I'm like, oh, I guess I can go now. It's fine. I don't really even had to think about it, but it was super easy. I thought that was. I don't know if that says something about the movie, or I just lucked out. I honestly can't say, but normally there have been other times, other movies where I'm straight up just like, oh shit, and there's zero water, and I'm just like, I gotta go, I'll be back. And I'll be like, what did I miss? And like nothing. And I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
thought
gotta say, one
yeah.
thing I admire about the runtime is like sorry, this is a sentiment I think I'll go back to a lot because I'm trying to find the words to illustrate it better. Is the sense of like a video game movie, or like what's a movie that's influenced by video game culture and where they are in society now. So like directors in the interviews and even actors will be like, oh, I like this video game series, or I'd like to work on this adaptation and stuff. That's been going on since like 2007. And I liked the Way of Water's length because the approach was from, like, say, for its flaws and its benefits, a film or a TV show. Like I to me, at its worst, when I went my second time, where I got a bit antsy and I was like, well, I could get something to eat. I felt like I was binge watching my favorite anime. Like I wasn't particularly mad or didn't think any parts were boring, but I was like, I'm gonna go get something to eat while I know the RDA bad guys aren't on screen, because whenever they're on screen, something fun's gonna happen. So that's when I went to get some food. Um, but like the movie didn't feel like set piece, like video game level, where it's like action scene then plot, action scene then plot. Like everything had a pretty good story driven, I guess the whole being of it story driven, because there's no gameplay in the film. The only time I felt like this kind of interpretation was broken was like the kelp forest scene. I felt like that was truly like just for novelty. Like if you took that out, the story wouldn't have suffered, because it's just the bad guys catching the kids, and just an excuse to show more of Pandora, which I'm totally down for. But looking back on it, as much as I feel like that scene could be cut, it kind of shocked me with like how much of the movie that I think would have suffered if it was cut despite the length. Like
Yeah.
it felt like the opposite of Batman versus Superman. Like it had the patience to tell exactly what it wanted to tell. And I gotta say, a lot of movies don't have that patience. Like that it was a really ballsy move by James Cameron, and I think it paid off.
I'd say so. That makes sense. Especially honestly, like looking through at that chase, like you get a lot of on just it is good action, if anything, because it brings up the drama of being chased around and everything else. Especially having fucking crab robots
Dude,
chasing.
those crab songs
Oh
were my
yeah.
favorite thing in the movie. Like
Yeah.
So dope.
when they were just like sidewalking across the carrier, and like one literally does the like fist like
Yeah.
punch thing. I was like, why the fuck would they build a robot that walks sideways and also does the fist? Why is it a crab with fists? Whatever.
Because you
Yeah.
see honestly how they work on underwater, and it's
Well,
like
that's the
straight
other
up
thing. Yeah,
even
then you see them in motion, and it's like, oh, whoa, they're like straight stripping up that whale like super fast.
yeah. And
Okay.
even then when they're chasing the kids, like they got ahead of the kids, and it's like the kids were going away, and it's like, hey, I'm ahead of you, bitch, and then it like jumps over, and you're like, oh Jesus, how'd you even get there? Like it was really awesome the way they pulled that off. That and we'll get, I guess, the more into the designs and everything else soon, but I guess thinking about it, I feel like, because it sounds like majority of the extra footage is all in Avatar 3. Like there's a lot in Avatar 3, but for Avatar's physical release, or like, when it's the home release for Way of Water, how much do you guys think will be in a director's cut for Cameron? Like how much extra footage do you think there is for just 2?
So something I'm crossing my fingers for is a detail I noticed is when the General Ardmore is interrogating Spider. Actually, no, sorry. It's when Quaritch is talking to the general about where the Na'vi are and shows all that camera feed footage. That's kind of like a throwback to Aliens. There's footage that was a finished version of a deleted scene you can see on YouTube. So I guess at one point, I guess not just for you, I guess for utility purposes rather, James Cameron's probably finished a lot of scenes retroactively from the first movie. I'm sure he's finished scenes from this movie. And knowing him and looking how successful Lord of the Rings was with their extended cuts, I could see him like releasing a definitive like 14-hour cut of it just has all the content. Like that I would watch.
Wait,
I
of
would
Way
buy
of
it.
Water?
Of Way of Water and the first Avatar, and then I'm
Oh,
sure
wow.
he's commissioning getting everything filmed and finished for the third one too, because
So, we're gonna say?
like okay, sorry, just to I guess make a clearer example of what I'm talking about. There's a scene that you can find on YouTube, which is an extension of a scene we see in the film. Remember when they burned the rover trucks, the big ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where the soldiers are walking through the aftermath of that attack, and all the guys are impaled and stuff. And I think they deleted it because it made the Na'vi look a little too savage, which I wish they kept in the film because it would make sense. Like a lot of dudes criticize, like, oh, how could these army guys get killed? But like when you see how these corpses are messed up, Corporal Wainfleet, who's back as a recon in the second one, he's explaining what he sees with the camera feed, and they're just talking about like, oh, this is how Na'vis kill people. Like if you look at the angles on this corpse, this guy wasn't looking up, and they got him with an arrow. And he's like, well, like they obviously let this area on fire, and the amp suit driver got cornered by the wreckage here, and then they killed him, probably overran him. And there's no corpses, so they probably took their dead, so we don't even know if they got any of them. And then the footage kind of cuts out and to whatever next scene. That footage without the sound appears on a like projector screen, that briefing scene. So what I'm thinking is kind of like the scene of the colonel getting killed and it's just the interior camera shot. Like that was either original footage or unreleased deleted scene. Like that's never before seen footage, is him getting hit by those 3 arrows. So I think that they might have finished a lot of those scenes retroactively to use just later on if they need to, or with the intention of releasing a crazier, super extended cut when the third one comes out.
Okay. Yeah, because all right, the extended edition they came out with for the original Avatar movie, how much longer was it? Was it actually that much longer than the original? Because I don't even think I ever watched it, to be honest. I think I only saw the original cut.
So the big fandom grumbling is the extended version of Avatar. There's two. There's the extended version, and then there's like a re-release version, and they actually have different footage in each of them.
Oh, like Blade Runner?
Yeah.
It's
God,
I don't want it to get into that whole like confusion.
Yeah, one includes one scene and one includes another scene. And what people were kind of mad about is everyone wanted the deleted scenes finished but put in the movie. So I think James Cameron is doing that. However, at the I don't know, we will have to see it as we see it. And the only piece of evidence I have is the shots I just described to you guys.
Yeah. So do you think when they come out with, I mean, I think for sure there's gonna be a director's cut for the second movie when it comes out to the home release. And I hope they don't do the Lord of the Rings thing where for Lord of the Rings, they were like, all right, the movie came out, here it is on DVD, and you're like, dope, cool, and you buy it, and then they're like, now here's the extended edition on DVD, and you're like, why did I buy this first one? Like,
Yeah,
don't
that's
do this to.
annoying.
I want to say for Lord of the Rings, I've probably bought like 5 copies of those movies by now. Because I originally got like the theatrical trilogy, and then I got the extended trilogy on DVD, and then Blu-ray, and then 4K. So it's been like a whole thing. Though I only got rid of the theatrical one because I can't bear to get rid of the others. They're actually
Do
physically
they come
amazing.
with the other versions on that disc?
I think they do. They might. But also I wouldn't mind if they didn't, because I literally I've never had any ever want to watch the theatrical runs ever again, because I feel it's incomplete now
Yeah,
if you don't watch the extended. Like, it doesn't feel right. Um,
yeah.
but like I mean, looking at Way of Water, it's about the length of the theatrical Lord of the Rings movies. It's
Hmm.
so I could see it getting around like the extended edition run where it is near 4 hours, or maybe a little bit over 4 hours, and it gets closer to 5. But I don't think it'll be that long, surely, for the fact of all the rumors we've heard of 3 and how much of that a big deal that's been, when Cameron could be like, oh, hey, well, 2 was going to be this long, and then I cut this much out of it. Instead, like, it seems like
Hmm.
he put a lot more into 3 in length compared to like 2. But
Unless I'm doing the math wrong, the extended collector's edition on Amazon, which came out like a few years ago, has only like 16 minutes added onto it from the original.
16 minutes of Navi sex, that's
Yeah.
insane.
Well, and apparently they added a like intro scene eventually that was like showed what
Really?
Earth looks like.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's Earth, and Sully gets kicked out of a bar.
Oh.
It's like it's cool, but it's like it's all right.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
That's interesting. I wonder,
Yeah,
because all right,
I expected it to be like an hour longer. So for
so,
now, I'm like not sure what 2 would be for
yeah,
me.
because the original for me, I watched it in
Hmm.
theaters with my sister. I remember I like went with my sister to the Daly City Century Theater, and we watched it, came out, and I was like, that's cool. And I don't think I ever watched it again. And I never saw the extended version, to be honest. And then our friend Roman from school was like, yeah, my at the store I work at, we have it for $5, and it's like the newest edition or something. And then so I went when we went to Savannah, I'm like, give me the movie. I'll buy it for $5. Yeah, sounds good. And I have it. I haven't opened it yet, but I'm like, now I want to check it out. I was supposed to watch it before this new one. In fact, I was supposed to
Hmm.
see it in theaters before the new one. I really wanted to see the
Oh
old
yeah.
one in Atmos, and I forgot, and I totally missed out. But like, yeah, it's been on like
Hmm.
something I want to watch forever. I haven't rewatched anything in so long. I'm just trying to like catch up on stuff I still haven't seen. But I'm curious then, if you're saying that, Miles, if they did, because
Hmm.
they could either, I guess, release them at the same time and be like, here's Avatar 1 new extended version, and here's Avatar: The
Hmm.
Way of Water director's cut. But at the same time, maybe that would interfere with sales with the other one or the other. But I'm
I
honestly not
think
too
he'll
sure.
wait till like if 4 and 5 are happening in the way that was mentioned when they first were doing the sequel, like announced the sequels, like pre-COVID. I think that he would release like the extended mega version after 3, because the remember the comments where a lot of people were memeing it on Twitter because all the journalists framed it in a really arrogant way. But when he sent the drafts for 4 and 5 to the producers, and they sent back like no notes, like they were just like, "Holy shit, that looks good." I guess, and now that they've made the money, they're definitely going to make 4 and 5.
Yeah,
3 was going to be reworked for a finale in case the reception was bad. So I think now 3 is just like a mid-season finale. So if he was gonna sell an extended cut, it'd be like 1 to 3, like a anime arc. Like this is the Sec Ops arc, or the Jake Sully arc, and then the
yeah,
next one would be like his kids. Because if you look at the subtitles they announced, it looks like the theory that's kind of floating around is either Awa gets killed in the third one, or the third one they defeat the humans like forever on Pandora, and then they attempt to go help Earth. That's
Huh.
the, because another comment that every, like, one thing I do like about James Cameron is even though he's extremely arrogant, he delivers on everything he says. And something he has said is he thinks that Earth is as important a world and story to explore as Pandora. He's just not that far enough into the story yet.
I
So
mean, that's really
I
interesting,
think,
actually.
yeah, because the two things he like, this is to Spark Notes, but he was like, the lessons he wants to give to the audience in the third, fourth, and fifth films was one, not every Navi is good and not every human is bad. And then the other one too was, he, I don't know, he kind of disregarded the criticisms, but I do think that the notion of humans being hopeless is something that he will definitely tackle, because like that I think is something that, like, he would notice that himself making these films, being that detail oriented. And I guess he sort of begun that process with Spider, like including a pretty charismatic human character that's like in the main roster, that's not like a norm or like a bad background guy. And then bringing a villain to the forefront, which is Quaritch, in a way that, like, if Quaritch was the villain again in the third one, everyone would be okay with it. However, if you switch teams, everyone would be okay with it. Like,
Yeah,
he's
honestly,
got a
he's
big
so
enough presence now.
yeah. And I guess then last thing, because I mean, I'm pretty much down for if they do just individual releases of like Avatar 1 and 2, and then eventually after 3 they do kind of like the Lord of the Rings trilogy set, just so I can get it sooner, honestly. But for Avatar 3, it's 9 hours, and it probably will get fully finished, and that'll be an awesome home release when it comes out after the theatrical run. But
Yeah.
what would be comfortable for you guys, or what do you think would be good if it's 9 hours and it's probably a lot longer than the other two? What would be a acceptable theatrical run length?
Wait,
Ooh,
9 hours for just three?
Yeah, three is 9 hours.
yeah, that's
Ugh.
gonna be 9 hours of finished footage.
Yeah,
To
that's
be
why I was
candid,
okay. That's why I put in the perspective of like Lord of the Rings extended trilogy together is still like, I'm looking at it that way of like, I'd be fine if it's probably that interesting. Um, and the amount of stuff we'll see in that is probably going to be insane. But yeah, what's the idea of like the length for a theater run?
I think it'll still be like, it'll be a 2 hour film in that ballpark. And I think what he'll do with the extra footage is, to be candid, like, another guy who is an underrated director because he's got like a very production oriented mindset over being creative,
Mm-hmm.
is Zack Snyder. And like the 4 hour cut of Justice League is, it's pretty impressive that he had a functional copy of such a long film. So I think that James Cameron would, just for like the archival side of himself, would have a version that could be watched kind of like Snyder's Justice League, where like, hey, if I would watch 9 hours of Avatar if I was comfortable to go about my life while I was
Mm-hmm.
doing it.
Okay.
Um,
Also, watch
but
out. I
then
think your
again,
mic is moving around a bit. It sounds a little jumbled right now.
oh wait, I think I might have my finger on it. Whoops.
Oh,
Um, sorry about that.
that's fine.
And sorry, I'll be a bit long winded here. But the other thing I was theorizing is Matrix Reloaded and Resurrections. I believe they released maybe a year apart. Like,
Yeah,
they were
it
shot
was one after the other.
yeah, and the only thing I don't think he would do that is, one, that is like a big drop off, and for some reason people don't feel compelled to go see the second part, even though it's part of the story. Or another pretty funny irony is, like, if Dune wasn't based on a book, so people had that expectation, like, like, this is a pretty funny one. Maybe some of our listeners might get a bit mad about this, but if you talk about Dune to somebody who's just in the mainstream, just your average Joe, Dune is what like Redditors think Avatar is. Like, everyone forgot about Dune. Like, people cannot name a character from Dune. In fact, Dune didn't even have an ending in their mind. Like,
It's true.
talking, like, hearing
The
my
author made
family
up
talk
all the
about
other
that.
books after.
Yeah, like people are like, it was like I was trying to explain to my family, I was like, oh, it's a part one. Like it said it in the title and stuff. But like to the average Joe, like that movie just like it sucked. It didn't have an ending. I don't care. And
I thought it was garbage
I so
personally, but that's also because I just
yeah,
don't think they're
I
gonna do
think
anything with it.
it's a really, really bad movie too. But it just it can rely on the book's reputation.
Yeah,
Whereas on the flip side, the average person, they love the hell out of Avatar. People can't get enough of Avatar. Just look at the ticket sales. But with that, I think James Cameron is not foolish enough to repeat the Matrix's mistake. I think like it will be a definitive ending. He's written it out, and the rest is just stuff he can sell later.
that makes sense. Okay. James, what about you? What's your ideal film length for 3?
Like we were already talking about how like 3 hours should have felt like a long time. So like, and the longest movie I can think of people willing to see in theaters
Endgame.
is like Avengers Endgame, which was 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And like some people might have been willing to see the 4 hour Snyder cut in theater.
Oh, I wish.
I mean, I would have been willing to if they put like an intermission at like the 2 hour mark,
Yeah.
so I could at least like go to the bathroom and shit.
They did that for Crazy Hateful Eight. They
Yeah.
did an intermission for that movie. That was
Yeah, they used to
actually
do it
really
all
good.
the time.
Yeah.
But like that's not like a thing that happens as much anymore. So I don't know. I would say if they got away with The Way of Water being 3 hours, I think the max they would be like comfortable doing for the third movie is 3.5. But that's like a lot of time to cut out of a supposed 9 hour movie. That's like almost 2/3 of it. So, and that's never good. Like the same thing happened with the Snyder cut. It was like they tried their best to cut it a 4-ish hour movie down to like 2.5 hours, and it felt like there was a lot missing. So and like
Sorry. Good.
but
Okay, after your point, I'll say it.
yeah, like one last thing is just like we also were talking about how like it did feel like a lot of The Way of Water could have been just filler, but it also like felt necessary. It's just like it maybe they could have left cut it out, but like I don't know. It's hard to say. I think like there are very few production companies that would be comfortable putting out a movie that's like more than 3.5 hours today in theater.
Yeah, it's also I think they're all afraid of the attention spans of the average audience going at this point.
For sure, that too.
Yeah, I think so for me. Sorry, right? You're gonna say something else. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, the quick point I want to say is I think the reason this cuts 9 hours is he's probably just shooting a whole bunch of B-roll and utility footage while everyone's cohesively together, like the kids. Like how he's saying he doesn't want the kids to age out, so they shot part of 4 already. But on the flip side, like they have say 100,000 mint condition gun props. So if you're gonna film any big scene with all the army guys, all with the gear and meticulous detail and stuff to be consistent with the other films, now's the time to do it. So he might be shooting like all the amp suit scenes for 4 and 5 with 3, and they could be part of 3.
That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, just like an anime, he's probably shooting his own stock footage. So like animals in the trees to soldiers walking around to like bases or even like flashback scenes he might want to use. And like my only piece of evidence before is just like I was shocked at what the like found footage scenes were. Like that seemed like such a big amount of detail to put. Like usually movies just put footage from the last movie. They don't like go out of their way to make
it's pretty awesome, honestly.
Perspective of it. Yeah, that was one of my favorite things about the second one, even though it was like 2 seconds.
It always bothers me in movies.
Doing a lot of that.
It always bothers me in movies, and they for like security footage just put literally the exact shot from the movie. It's like, how'd you get that footage?
That's actually really fast. I'm currently like on the current arc of One Piece. Like I'm in like the 900s. I entered the 900s of One Piece. And I went back to Crunchyroll, which One Piece like basically puts all the best stuff together, so you're getting all the filler fluff, all of it out of the way, so it shortens it and you're getting all the quality of just the real story itself. Going back to Crunchyroll, the episode's like what, 22 minutes? The actual episode is like 15 minutes. because of like, hey, remember that remember that thing that just happened last episode? Here's a full flashback to it. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I do get that, and that's why I really do appreciate the idea of here's a flashback, but it's something completely different that we haven't even gotten. I think for me, James, because you brought it up, I would love it if they actually pulled it off and did it. I would be fine with a 4-hour cut of Avatar 3. Give me a 2-hour 2 hours intermission, the other 2 hours. I would be so good with that. I'd be like, yo, give me like 15-20 minutes in between. This is walk around a bit, do your thing. If you want more food, go buy it, which I'm sure theaters would love that.
Yeah, go to the bathroom and get some snacks.
Yeah, like that actually sounds great. And I honestly, one of my all my favorite theatrical experiences were always in Savannah, Georgia, because we had literally a group of like 20 people going to watch movies. But I will say, in terms of a theatrical format, like I said, the Hateful Eight roadshow where they had an actual intermission was so much enjoyment of just like, oh, cool, we have this much more to look forward to, but also I can take a break and do some stuff for a little bit. Like that idea is actually really great, and I think that is a great way to combat I guess attention spans or just like patience of the average film goer too, to make it more of an adventure.
Another
showing
thing
up.
that I want to mention is they might actually take a risk and do a longer cut potentially for intermission, because another thing that opens the door to is more viral marketing. Like if people could real time tweet about what they were saying in the movie theater, I think that would drum up more hype, because I mean, the only thing that I felt was distracting me from this movie was just seeing cool stuff I wanted to talk about immediately. Like being like, oh, I have to wait till this movie ends before I can like gush about it. So I'm sure with the intermission, that would be driving ticket sales. Like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. I've only seen half of it. Like, I'm going back in for round 2. Like, so potentially, but at the end of the day, this is business, and I don't think James Cameron's gonna take the same risk again. Like, I think he'll make a shortcut.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on,
safer bet for sure.
Definitely. Moving into, I guess, the film itself with the visual effects, the underwater, like all that. This is kind of the biggest feat of this film. This is why James Cameron is second to none in his field of directing, because he literally, like, it's literally that South Park episode where they're like, hey, the bar of film is so low at this point. Like, it feels like no one's trying anything.
He literally raises it.
Television is awful half the time. Like, it's just boring, dumbass reality TV shit, and like stuff they want to be real, but it's actually fake, and it just makes it even worse. I mean, I'm sure people love it. Like, they go to bars and watch like whatever fucking Bachelor shit there is. But like the fact that he will put in the full extra effort to put like everything into a film and make it as, I don't want to say as real as possible, but it's like as believable or as quality. Like the fact that
it's like authentic.
Yeah, he makes an alien world and it looks incredible, and it makes the MCU movies look like garbage in visual effects. It makes Star Wars look fine. It just is powerful in terms of its looks.
The scene where Jake is learning how to ride one of those like flying fish things, and he's like wrapping the strap around his hand, and I was just like, is like any part of this like real, or like
that is real? That's live action.
Oh, okay. God dang it.
They got everyone with that. That's live action. That's the dude who flew. Like that one made me laugh pretty hard. Finish your point, James, because I'm gonna go on a teary yet. I could talk forever about this stuff.
Oh no, I was basically just gonna say like a lot of this movie is just like so good looking that it's like it really it's so immersive. Like it makes you like, I think that's like one of the main reasons why I'm just like, I just want more Nature Channel stuff about this, because I just want more and more, and I want to learn more about and see more about Pandora, because everything I see is like fascinating. Like every creature design is like so interesting.
I think one thing I loved about the first one, like I used to be an Avatar hater. I used to like make threads about it. I used to diss that movie whenever I got a chance. But I rewatched Aliens, and I was like, like this is a really good movie. So I'm like, how could this guy have like made a movie like Avatar, and a an extra coincidence is for some reason the Bermuda Library, despite how small it is, has every Avatar related book. Like that was another weird coincidence. I was
Huh.
like, this is just so strange. So I was like reading the production book, like not the art of book, but like the one that had his raw commentary and thoughts. And to be candid, I was like blown away at the thought and detail he had put into everything. Like I've not seen a fictional universe that has like such a rational explanation for everything. And it's so much like it's so well done that people like I didn't even notice it in the film, but then once I like read his notes and watched the movie, like I see why he gets so arrogant and so mad because it's like clear as day there, but people I guess either weren't paying attention or they were distracted by something and didn't get absorbed by it. But yeah, like it really clicked for me. So watching this sequel with like that awareness, like, you know, let me watch this for what I can notice, and then let me do like a more detailed watch on my second one. I felt the same way because like it's probably one of the only fictions where gosh, like even something as like tiny and asinine as the like guns, like a lot of fictionalities they'll just use a real gun and bolt some things to it. Like here he like invented blank firing weapons from scratch
For
almost.
real?
Yeah.
The colonel's pistol in the first one, his like crazy future pistol, is a blank firing weapon that works.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
So, and the thing that blows my mind even more, so this is gonna feel like a Baki cutaway right now, how we're gonna explain this shonen thing. But like George Lucas and Star Wars, the reason the art kind of stinks in the newer ones is because Lucas himself was designing the stuff. He was just getting other guys to draw it. So he would be like, no, this line has to be like this. Like you can look at his notes for the X-Wing and stuff. That wasn't the artist. That was George Lucas, like literally Hawkeye over their shoulders, being like, it should look like this.
I want
And
the
then
foils to open. Yeah, I want the foils to open like this. All right.
exactly, like there's an anecdote where he put all the concept art on a wall and like meticulously pointed out like exactly which things are going to be in the movie and which ones aren't. So apparently James Cameron's like that, but times 1,000 because
Mm.
like this dude designed the colonial marines from Aliens from scratch. Like that's all him. The artists and stuff were just doing production sketches that he didn't want to finish. Like you
I
can
mean,
look
the
at his original
rifles,
notes.
the rifles in Avatar had a good similarity to the Colonial Marine rifles. Like they
Yeah,
looked very, well, like just hand in hand. Like you could have fooled me and told me they were the same universe. Honestly.
dude. What blows my mind with this one is the amp suit. Like when they ended up building a robotics interface, it naturally looked like the amp suit. Like it wasn't like they were trying to make the suit from Avatar, but he like predicted what that type of like exoskeleton technology where it was going to go next. That like haptic feedback. So like when everyone's like, "Oh, they built this suit from Avatar," and it's like, wow, like James Cameron literally designed a real futuristic robot. Um, and the like, gosh, like to see it not only in like the first film, for him to like extrapolate on all those concepts again, like even say the transport helicopters. If you look at the Black Hawk today compared to like the Valor that's replacing it, the two bigger things are like the angles are sharper because they can condense the technology, and then on top of that, it's bigger, so it can actually have more utility. So like even that difference from like the old helicopters to the new ones, the Samson to the Kestrel, you can see that design philosophy apply. Like it's just gnarly stuff.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so
And
it was
yeah, because I
like
knew.
that was better than pornography for me.
Oh, of course, Miles. And I know, like,
It
because
was
you've
cool
had
as
a
hell.
whole thing of like your disdain, I guess, of lack of military sci-fi, just like military type
Hmm.
of content in everything from games, film, everything. I mean, like hell, that's where you're like, Halo sucks, so I'm prospering because of this. But like, I think that was the cool thing about Avatar was that they do bring in the military aspect again. And it's just that it's bad this time compared to where Aliens Colonial Marines, it was like quite the opposite. Um, and I guess I'm just trying to get all the military stuff out of the way before I get into the nature. But the designs and just the way the effects worked of having the crabs, like the crab suits. I guess
think it's the crab suit.
Yeah,
It was
crab
like a
suit.
sub type thing.
I mean, because it's like they
Slash,
had
There was a
subs.
submarine and a crab suit.
Yeah, they
the
had
Mako
the.
sub.
It looked like it was meant for like salvaging.
Yeah, it was like the crab suits at least could do the salvaging. They could properly move around underwater and do things these subs couldn't, as in walk around like probably ocean floor potentially. I mean, if it's like shallows, like obviously not deep sea, I doubt they're like equipped for that kind of thing, though maybe we'll see that next movie. So there's like a lot that they can do, and they're incredibly versatile, and I do appreciate that because it's like when you think about the design of that type of suit, you're like, why the fuck would you make it a crab? And you really think about like, well, when you're trying to go deep in the water and do this kind of stuff, are you trying to make something on your own of like some weird idea of like a shaped movable thing that you'll be piloting and do it on your own and test it so many times that may like trial and error? Or do you want to see what actually lives and works underwater and adapt to that kind of thing where it's like, oh, crabs are bottom feeders, crabs can actually like move around and stuff. It's like, how is it possible that they're able to survive down there? And you're like, well, study them, see how they work, and design based off of what already works in that water.
Yeah,
and then that is how you can do that kind of thing.
One thing that came up in one of my classes at Davis was that like we as scientists are often trying to just recreate what nature has already done because nature has figured it out better than us like a long time ago.
Yeah.
I feel like people don't really think about that often of like, yo, just study animals, adapt to the way they adapt, and that shit will work. I mean, honestly, I think that's why I loved Horizon so much, because Horizon really just does that and goes, hey, what can this animal do to this ecosystem, and why are they a robot? And it's like, well, this is why, and this is how they do that kind of thing. And actually I just had more appreciation with Horizon just by thinking about that. But the fact that they're able to do it with the crab suits and stuff like that, like it's so cool. And with the subs, like I love the shape where it actually reminds me a bit of the mini subs in Atlantis, the Lost Empire, when they're fighting when they're going around fighting the giant like Atlantean creature ship that they've got.
The automaton, the Leviathan.
And it's like autopilot because you're just like, what the fuck? But yeah, you see all the cool little mini subs going out there and trying to fight, and they all get their asses kicked. But like, I love these mini subs in this because I'm like, it's the first time I've seen something like that since that animated film. And it's something that really, the whole thing of like why this movie is so amazing. Underwater is so untapped in terms of creation and content and just like variety that you can use with it, because everyone's so just like, everyone's got a hard on for space. Everyone just wants space. And this is in space, yes, but it is underwater still within that planet. And I love the fact that they're able to fully utilize that. And then, yeah, you get these types of creations, the hover ship, which is really cool, where it's like kind of hovering on the water.
Well, I love that it was like almost shaped like whaling ships like nowadays, with like a big open back to like haul the whale in. Although that, I find it strange that they had that, and then you see how they harvest the whale, and they kind of just like, I don't think. Well, no, they did kind of bring it into the ship a little bit, and then like went into the mouth and drilled
more
out
just the front form of it goes in the ship just so they can get into the mouth.
One thing I'd like to like interject with in terms of like rationalization, right? Like, if you ask a question of, say, like something like Dune, like why did the ornithopters, why do they flap their wings like that rather than be a helicopter? Well, that's just to make them cool and sci-fi. The thing I like about the sea dragon, the reason they have to bring the whale up on there to harvest it is because they have all this delicate machinery, and to be honest, it's a hostile ecosystem. Like, they show you that Pandora is not a place you can like have your back towards the jungle while you work. So it's like a mobile fortress to where they can just do the work in safety and discard it without having to travel back to base with a corpse. So like, I thought that was like really sophisticated, even though it looks like I guess some people would be like, why would they have such a big, expensive fishing boat? But like something that expensive ends up saving them money because they can stay out and operate there for longer. And like another thing I thought was kind of funny is people are like, humans are so powerful, but like, they struggle with these guys and everything. But then like the thought I had to myself thinking about that, I was like, in this movie, without the backup of the entire planet, they struggle with a fishing trawler. Like that was just a boat that was there to fish that they just like
Yeah.
just redeployed to hunt down two people. Like that was not a battle or like like I don't know what they're gonna do for the humans. Like how can you beat the humans? Like that is just insane to think about.
I think one perfect example of like the strength of what the humans could do if they really wanted to was just the act of like more dropships coming just
Yeah,
raised the jungle to the ground. And that
Just
was
yeah,
just
it's like, what are you
that,
doing? I'm like, I'm landing.
yeah, and that's the thing. That was just like, oh, we're back.
yeah,
We haven't even started yet, but we're
Yeah.
we're gonna destroy this like whole like giant. And then they cut to like 3 years later or something like that.
I think it was
And
1 year.
a
1
year
year.
later. And there's like a huge circle around that base that's just like gone.
It's just barren.
It's just barren earth. And it's like, well, then why don't they just do that for everything? Like, because
I guess because
clearly
they'll
they
destroy the
could.
resources that they
And
want.
that's the thing, is you find out that like one of the optional, I guess, like one of the plans for Pandora is like Earth is dying, we need a new home. Why not Pandora? And
Yeah.
so that's why it's like, well, we could raise all of Pandora to the ground if we wanted to, but we need it. So that's why we're like bothering with the struggle, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Like
I also just like that the captain of the whaling ship was just like, I just want to get paid, man. Like,
yeah,
just
I'm
let me
at
do my work.
today.
Like, I'll kill your whale with my explosive harpoons if I need to, but like, I gotta get paid.
Yeah. And it's crazy too, because like all the weapons they have can still kill like all the natives no problem, because it's like depth charges and like they're like sonic bombs and stuff like that.
I also
Enough to
appreciated
just
that
like
it's
kill on
not,
impact.
yeah, it's not exactly like Earth whaling where you just like shoot a bunch
Mm.
of harpoons. And they did have the inflatable bags to like make it harder for them to swim like we do.
Yeah.
But like just having like the special harpoon that will go like down and then like up into the
Yeah.
creature. And then like, yeah, the fact that they start with depth charges because these whales have like extremely like, I don't know, maybe we do that for regular like earth whales because like they are also sound sensitive, but like these whales, it's like,
Mm.
oh no, they'll go deaf if they don't surface. So it's like,
It's
oh,
like
so they've figured this shit out over the last few years.
Yeah. Thanks to James
Mm.
Cameron's just
Yeah.
building, which is insane.
they do it to dolphins. I know that they'll bang on when they fish dolphins in Japan.
Yeah,
They'll bang
everything
on, like,
everything we're
metal
talking
pipe.
about here on Earth is really just Japan at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was very like, really? They're whaling? They're doing whaling for this the plot of this movie? Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And like another thing I thought was funny is like, I saw some people like make fun of, actually this is another one, a fun piece of trivia. There's actually a copy of Starlog. I believe there's like the old sci-fi magazine they had. And what was funny, they have a vintage copy from 1984 when Aliens released, or 1986. I can't remember the exact year. Um, and what's funny, they have a Axe James Cameron Everything section of the magazine. And what cracked me up is all the same like criticisms you see on Reddit were axed decades ago. And like that's why I guess he doesn't really answer him now, because from his perspective,
He's tired
he
of
already
it.
gave him
It's like, I
answers.
told
they
y'all
just
like
never
20
read it.
years ago. And it's like, bro, I wasn't even born yet. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want
but
me
it
to
was,
do
like,
my own research?
hilarious. Like, yeah, that was really funny. Like he goes piece for piece. Like I was pretty shocked at the level of detail, but how short his answers were. Like that was pretty impressive for I don't know if they abridged his thoughts or if that was literally what he was saying or written into the magazine, but it's worth looking up.
I should answer people like that, because I always answer with like an essay practically, and they're like,
But like
shut
to
up.
make it Yeah, to make it relevant to Way of Water, like, people are like, oh, I guess they're just whaling that brain fluid now. What about unobtainium and stuff? And I'm like, dude, you see how much like avenues for revenue a modern corporation today has? Like, they probably were just like, fuck it, like, new market. They're probably still mining unobtainium, but now they're
Yeah.
doing whaling as well. Like, you have no idea just like how big their operation is on the planet now, that they have like pretty much control.
Makes
It's
me,
only how many humans they can get to the planet and how
yeah.
they can house them, really, that's limiting them.
And not to mention the unobtainium was like the whole thing was like, oh, it's at the tree. And when they landed, they're just like demolishing trees. So it's like just by doing that, they created a foothold
Yeah.
where unobtainium is obtainable at this point now
Yeah.
without too much
Yeah.
issue.
It makes me wonder what resources do the plains people have that could be like exploited and stuff like that. Because like they mentioned in the first movie, like a handful of different people. Like they
Mhm.
mentioned the ocean people, I think, and like one of them was the plains people.
Yeah.
And so like that's another reason why I am still definitely ready for like more of these movies, because like I want to see, like, we've seen like two completely different ways of life on Pandora so far. There's definitely
Yeah.
more, and I want to see more.
You know, there's mountains, and with mountains, there's snow,
Oh
which
yeah,
means we're gonna have potentially like Himalayan style people. Because like the whole thing of Way of Water, you get a very big Pacific Islander vibe from
dude, they
them.
straight up
Like,
doing
Yeah.
the like haka like spit your tongue out thing,
oh,
like when
dude,
they're
they
going
were.
to battle.
I,
That
then
was
when they
awesome.
started, I was like, oh shit, we getting into the, because the whole thing was their a lot of their skin design was like that of almost
Yeah,
having the tattoos. So
Yeah.
that was very
Real Maori.
yeah,
yeah.
and it was really cool the way they pulled that off. It, which was even funnier considering one of the whalers was a dude with the Maori tattoos.
Yeah,
When you look on the boat when they're going after the main
Oh yeah,
whale,
he did have them.
yeah, he's like this dude who's just like, oh, and I'm like, it's The Rock, and you're just because he's also bald, but he just goes in there and they're just like, oh, okay. I'm pretty sure he died. I'm not too sure.
I did find
Um,
it really funny too that they were just like, yeah, this stuff from the whales, it straight up just like stops human aging. And it was like, oh, well, okay, I could see why we would do whaling again if that was
yeah.
a thing.
The
But
thing I
also
was
like
curious about
Yeah.
was, is it
the
stop it permanently, or is it like take this
yeah, I
and
don't
you're good,
know.
and then take it again? Like, is it like a one-time thing or what?
That's why I was like, I also was like, when the guy joked, like, yeah, this one vial is maybe worth like $80 million. And it's like, that sounds like a lot of money today, but for like literally immortality, that doesn't seem, and also like
Hmm.
however many years in the future we are, like that doesn't seem like a lot of money.
Maybe they
But
worked out inflation.
maybe, yeah, that's fair. Maybe their
Yeah,
economy is like
they're
a
just
thousand
like,
times
yeah,
better than
we
Yeah.
ours.
brought down the value of
He
everything.
just
So
says 80 million. He doesn't say $80 million or credits. He just says 80
That's
mil.
true. I
yeah,
didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Because like one thing what I thought was kind of gnarly is, adjusted for inflation, one ISV, so like one of those interstellar ships that goes from Pandora to Earth, or to human space, that's about $7 trillion profit in unobtainium.
mm.
So they sent 10 to Pandora in the sequel, and they
Damn.
have 7 on a rotation dropping off stuff to Pandora from human space.
Yeah,
So
because
they're
that
making
portal was
like,
taken out. Yeah,
yeah, like quick maths.
Yeah.
Like that's almost, oh my god. I can't even do it on my calculator, but
yeah, it's too
they're making
much.
a lot of money. They're making like,
We're making money, guys.
yeah, like that's money you show up with an army to get. Like, that's
You literally see the number show up, and you go, I don't care how many people we kill, how many of our people we lose. We just have to. It's worth it. That's what the business dude said pretty much when they
I
saw the
don't know if this
numbers.
would make any sense, but I think it'd be hilarious if at one point one of the like supply ships you see like go into Pandora or whatever just has the Wayland Yutani symbol on it.
I mean, it
oh
almost
yeah,
feels like
that
it
would
couldn't.
be funny.
It's insane because you look at the diversity in the humans for it, and you're just kind of like, you look at it and you're like, Earth probably, even though it sounds like it went to shit, it sounds like everything's so like united of like, yeah, we solved racism, now we just hate blue people, and like that's kind of the way it feels at this point. And the fact that you have this thing going on where you could tell it's like it's a multi-union, it's like a coalition. You have probably the government in on it, you have the military in on it,
Yeah.
you have contractors in on it, you have big corporations in on it, you have all these different facets of society on going to Pandora and doing this. So not only do you have different forms of business and government, but you have literal, just like united, diversified humanity in on it too, to do something horrible. And you're like,
I guess
oh,
that is kind of nice that at some point we put aside our differences and
to
became one
become
humanity and
one humanity to do horrible
Well,
things.
yeah,
see, so
just
like
to
some
all be
Avatar
terrible.
lore for you guys. So humanity's not united in this one. They're actually fighting a bunch of wars amongst each other.
Oh, that makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
these
It's
are
just
probably
that,
just Americans.
dude, it's kind of like oil, where like the stuff to finance, like all the materials needed to finance what goes on in human space, is so valuable that the RDA, the Resource Development Administration, is the one thing they can agree on. So like they're all fighting wars and stuff, but they're like, as long as the money's flowing. Like I think it's kind of funny how like they evict the humans, and then like as soon as the money got shut off, that's when they show up like in mass, like legions of hemp suits and all this stuff. Because like civilian governments, they are the ones that stop the RDA from having like nukes or using nerve gas and stuff. Because if the one company that had the most valuable resources had the best weapons, then they would be the most powerful entity, not Earth governments.
Yeah.
So to like put a rein on them, they force the RDA to struggle on Pandora by limiting the weapons they can get. So for context, the stuff you see in the first movie, that's Vietnam era equipment for the future. Like they that's old stuff that they could afford to buy and legally own, and then that was cheap enough to that they could manufacture on Pandora without hitting the profit margin. That's why it's kind of like it is futuristic, but it's still archaic. Like that's why they don't have guidance systems or infrared bombs or anything. Like that's why the amp suit is pretty much a glorified forklift that they just built a machine gun for. Like
Oh,
a
and
lot
that's
of the
why, I mean,
stuff
like
has,
for them, I guess they're like, we're fighting natives anyway. Like it's still advanced enough to deal with them, if anything.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
like
think
what I liked
also
about the sequel is now that they can manufacture on Pandora, they don't have to ship as much. That's why the technology gets to be more specialized, because
Mm.
you see it getting built on the city. Like but
I
it's
did like they
building a
took a
Valkyrie.
second to show the
Yeah.
like swarm builders,
Yeah, those are for
whatever
the
they call them.
buildings. And you see the grinder building a Valkyrie shuttle for like 2 seconds in when Ardmore walks past it.
Hmm.
But like that's like the type of shot where it's in the movie, but like I know he doesn't want to waste time explaining it, but it would answer so many questions if people saw that like humans can build shit on the planet now. That's why they have so much crap.
Okay. Otherwise, I guess going into the more nature of it all, like before we get into the water, was there anything, I guess, especially new or interesting about the forest to you guys? Before they
No,
like end up moving?
we didn't really spend much time there.
No, it was just really in the beginning.
Yeah. The first thing I noticed was I you guys heard me speak on it. I'm a huge military sci-fi nut, but the second movie made being Navi just as charismatic and fun as being like a human in that world. Like I could be a blue person or an avatar per se, just as much as I'd love to like just fly around in a helicopter looking at the birds and stuff like you see.
Yeah, you
So
can pilot animals. You can.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to go on the raid today? Yeah, let's go on the raid. Let's go fuck up this train.
yeah, these guys are living the life. Like they go on the raid, and then the other thing I thought was awesome was where they just go to the old battlefield. Like you can just like go see like skeletons and mechs and stuff. Just
Hey, this is where your dad fought my dad. Whoa.
yeah,
Bro, it's your
yeah.
dad's skull.
I love how they
Yeah.
like one, I actually really like the spider kid. Like just
Yeah, me
the
too.
Porks.
it,
Yeah,
it
spider's
was
great.
so interesting that he like was too young to get sent back to Earth, like with the sleeping pods or whatever. So they just like kept him there. And also the fact that he ends up being like the main villain dude's son, like
Yeah,
that was interesting. And yeah, he's like full on like no, I'm just like I live with the Navi. Like I mean, he lives with the humans, but he's basically spends all his time with his Navi friends. And I love how they like call him Monkey Boy.
Oh, it's great.
dude.
Especially because it's Kitty doing it, Monkey
Yeah.
Boy. But like,
That
I think it's funny
one
because
thing
his
that
name
made
is Miles, how'd you feel his name was Miles?
I was just about to say that. It was so surreal watching a movie where there was two characters named Miles. Because there's the Colonel's named Miles, and then his son's named Miles as well.
Oh
So
yeah,
like,
huh?
yeah,
I
whenever
totally missed that.
they say it, and like everyone in my row who went with me was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh yeah." And ironically, those are my two favorite characters. Like I like the Colonel the most, and Spider second. So I was like, "Wow, James Cameron really like me." Like,
Just
but
works out that way.
the reason his name Miles, though, the reason I'm called Miles is in Latin that means good soldier. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, that's why I thought it was kind of funny when, like, even when I first saw the first one where I was like, his first name Miles, I was like, that's a good pun.
Okay.
But yeah, like one thing I thought was funny, like this is just a throwback, you know, like when Pirates of the Caribbean or like the Star Wars prequels, like we had a really good run, a decade of like crazy big budget trilogies.
Yeah.
And all of them had their different quirks, be it like Transformers and sex jokes, or Pirates of the Caribbean and like crazy pirate lore. But like the thing I love about Avatar's one that's starting to grow on me is like, dude, the hissing at first I thought
Yeah.
was
Oh,
really
that shit's
silly.
great.
Especially
And
when
then
like the
by
one
the end of
human
the
does
second
it.
one, like I was like, this is awesome. The hissing is a lot of fun. Like
Yeah.
even the Colonel starting to do it. Like,
Yeah.
Just like out
like,
of just because he's in his avatar form and he's just like,
yeah.
oh fuck, oh my teeth. He's just like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Well, like, even his son does it to him at the end of the movie when he's like, he drags him out of the water. He's like, "Oh, thanks for saving my life. Come on, let's get back to base, son." And he's just like, and
Yeah,
It's
runs
like,
away.
oh,
And it's
he
like,
just like dies and
that's
flies
so
away.
weird.
My
it's
son.
like one of those things that's just quirky enough to like make me like really like something, you know. I'm glad the movie was like that vulnerable. Like I don't think a Marvel movie would have something so cringe in it. Right? Like it's like so cringe that it becomes endearing, which I
Yeah.
really like.
Hey, what happened to your dad? Oh, he went to Pandora to mine stuff, and a giant blue cat stabbed him with a spear, and he died, and he got his stab. I'm like, oh, rest in peace, bro. But yeah, I
Dude,
love the fact that we had a movie called Cats come out, and it made me want to do horrible things to the world. And then
Yeah.
like you get this, and it's like, yeah, it's like giant blue cat people. They're like super slit, like they're super thin, they're massively tall. They like can just literally kill you in a heart. They could impale you insanely powerfully. Just you're dead immediately. And they hiss at you, and they have these little noses, and I'm like, how do they do this so well? Like they pulled this shit off amazingly. Whereas, like, what if we just turned people into cat? Look, it's James Corden doing this, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's not the. This is not the way. But the blue
yeah,
ones are. Oh
dude,
god.
I something I really liked too was they made James Cameron really made like Jake Sully a boring character, but he made it work by making him a dad. Like he's
Yes,
got
he
like
was
got
so much more
Yeah.
interesting in this one.
yeah, like the funny thing is they made him interesting by making him more boring. Like now his motivation is just him being a good father.
Yeah.
Like that's it. But now like just dude, the dad core stuff was awesome. Like that was that was a lot of fun to watch.
Dude,
Okay,
like one of
Dad,
my
Lima
favorite
Charlie.
moments.
Like, yeah.
Like one of my favorite moments is when they get into like his kids get into the fist fight with the Chiefs like kids. And he's like, "What's the matter with you? I told you not to make a scene, like to try to fit in, not pick a fight and stuff like that." And then he's like, as his other kid like goes to go apologize because he started the fight, he like grabs his like older son for a second. He's like, "Hold on, what the other guy look like?" And he's just like,
Worse.
Yeah.
so he's like disappointed in his sons for like starting a fight, but he still like hopes his sons at least won.
Yeah.
It's just everything, you know, it's just all Dad wants at the end of the day. He's like, much worse, Dad. And he's like, okay, get the fuck out. It's so fucking good.
Dude, I just love the fact that your boy moved his family like without a real plan or anything. Like that seemed like really authentic, right? You really think like Jake Sully's got this great plan, and then like he shows up there and it's like that's the plan.
Even
they're
his
like,
To
wife,
fuck.
another country.
Like even his wife was like, "Where are we gonna go? Like this is our home. Like we're literally
Yeah.
the chief and like the medicine lady. Like what are we gonna do?" And he's like, "I don't know, but I know I
Yeah,
gotta keep the family safe."
We'll figure
that
it
was
out.
cool.
Flies for like what looks like 5 days of nonstop flying.
Dude, even the kids like, "Are we there yet?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
fucking Tuke's like, fuck, I want to go home. And it's like, we can't. It's like, all my friends are back there. We can't. And it's like, they do make it real enough. And it's like, the blue cats are just like us.
yeah.
Did you guys find it weird that his kids kept going like, "Yo, bro"?
Well,
Honest.
at first, I was like, they keep saying bro, but then I was in the army in Bermuda, and I remember like these kids are the son of a Marine. They're gonna say like bro or bra, like
That's fair.
as much as they would say sir. Like bro is like sir, but for people the same rank as you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like hearing Natayam in his accent, because you see Loak and he sounds more like a human. The second son, and then Natayam, who's like the older son, has more of like their people's accent and stuff. And both of them are like, "Hey, bro," and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm watching this movie and I'm like, we're not so different, you and I. Like we're very similar. We just don't. You're just blue, and you can do shit with your hair. Um, I definitely thought, at least for the designs of the Navi, like they looked just as good, if not better, than the first movie.
Mhm.
Like the amount of detail
Oh
on
yeah.
them was insane. Like every single facet of it. And then you get to the water, and the water is phenomenal. I can't believe how amazing this looked. And I'm in like a weird golden age of like, I'm getting not one, but three underwater type movies. And first it was like Wakanda Forever. I get my underwater Namor stuff, even though like he wasn't
Yeah, that
really.
should look good.
Yeah, he was Namor in like if you actually love Namor in the comics and you watch this, you're probably really angry. You're like, this wasn't Namor at all. But like the amount of dope underwater shit I got and I wanted more. That was, I think, the most disappointing part of that movie. I was like, honestly, I could have just taken a Namor movie. I would
We got to
have been
see
fine.
Taylor Khan for like one scene. What?
Yeah, I wanted more of that. And we're gonna get next December, we're getting Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and that's gonna be fucking amazing because like I love the first
Whoa.
one, and it was like underwater Lord of the Rings. It was fucking awesome. And here I'm getting this, and this is gonna be the best looking thing. Still, I doubt Aquaman will look as good, but it's gonna be at least like cool fantasy shit, if anything, underwater fantasy. But the water effects in this were astonishing for the fact that like it looked better than anything I've ever seen on a screen before. And everything from the creatures to just the water itself, the designs of all of it was just sheerly astonishing. And it reminds me of like, yeah, this is why I prefer deep sea exploration over space exploration. Like it's just so much we
Mhm.
haven't uncovered in our own planet. And all it did was remind me of that. Considering I think James Cameron did his own like deep sea exploration stuff to further studying for this film to really understand the world the way it works. Like it wasn't like he was filming underwater, like, oh, this is part of the movie. It was like, I'm trying to understand how the world works like this and then contribute it to my own film. Uh, all of that's why he raises the bar with this. That's why it's such a feat that this film came out and is doing what it's doing, along with like what the
Yeah.
third one will do too. The other thing being like the way they film it, which is all of these actors are actually filming it underwater. They're all having to breathe for certain durations underwater and doing all this stuff to make all of the movements as realistic as possible. So every single time you see them underwater doing something, that was a camera underwater with them. They
Dang.
were doing all of that. Like that
Huh.
was amazing.
It's wild.
Yeah.
What got me kind of blown up is like every good lesson he learned from a previous movie, James Cameron applied to this one. So like his actors almost drowned on the set of The Abyss to where they hated working with him. So this one, he trained those actors to be free divers. So they're like, I love working underwater.
Yeah, they all did
Just
free
like the
diving.
characters.
Yeah. I love that the
I thought that was
Abyss is straight up
hysterical.
like they look. It's so real in the movie. They all look miserable. Yes, they were
Yeah,
in real life too.
dude, that blew my mind. And then like being that James Cameron spent so much time actually in submersibles. That's why he like designed such good submersibles.
That's why the
And then
bar
like
when
just
in South
yeah,
Park when they do the bar, like he's like raising the bar's on the ocean floor and he's in the submarine
yeah,
raising the bar up.
yeah.
I
Like
just
to
love the
think that
second
it's
he
so
does that,
ridiculous.
everyone's
Like
just
South
like
Park. Oh, go
watching
ahead.
the Honey Boo Boo thing and just like, wait, why am I watching this?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes everyone self-aware of what they're doing and what they're
Yeah.
watching. Like, oh, I've been doing it wrong my whole time. God,
Yeah,
females, yeah.
I think it's so weird how to be candid, I think it's just one of those like no one likes to get an I told you so. Like I think universally nobody has been excited to hear I told you so. So for James Cameron to be like, I'm gonna make the best movie ever, like, and then guys be like, no, you're not. And then like numerically speaking, he kind of he
Less than
does.
2 weeks, $900 million.
Yes, dude. Like I can't wait for the third one for everyone to double down on it. Like this time, it's over. Like,
I'm going to complain
it's
about this
not
on
gonna
Twitter.
happen. Yeah, geez. But like going back to the nature thing, like one thing I thought was funny is that shark creature that get the whale kills to save
Loak.
Loak. Um, what thing I thought was funny, I was like looking at the encyclopedia they have of it, and I was like, wow, like this shark thing looks a lot crazier than I remember. And then no, like I'm looking at the reef shark, and the shark we saw in the movie is a different subspecies that like was
What?
designed for that
Oh,
like 10 seconds of footage. So I
oh.
was like, what? Like
So we didn't even see the reef shark?
like yeah, the neurons I think Avatar has hit for me is I haven't felt this way since really episode 3 came out, when I was like you're pouring over all the new Star Wars
I
lore and
mean,
you're
yeah,
like,
we get fucking Utapau and
whoa. Like,
Mustafar and shit, and it's just like
yeah,
Megito and Felucia and shit. Like the
dude.
amount of planets in that movie actually are insane. But yeah, no, I feel that. In fact, dude,
Mm.
we're only getting the reef. We're literally
Yeah,
getting the shallows of the water this entire movie. There's
not even the
still
whole ocean, right?
ocean and the deep sea, which I think is going to be 3. I think they should just call Avatar 3 Getting Deep. Getting
So
blue, getting
I
deep.
don't want to be
Well, it's supposed to be like the seed
Mr.
bearer or
Actually.
something.
It's the Ash Clan. They're supposed to have like a volcano.
Oh, that sounds. I
Yeah.
didn't even think of that. That sounds so cool.
Oh, we're
So
getting some
I'm hyped.
Aztec shit then. Let's go.
Yeah, they're
Obsidian?
supposed to have the volcano clan, and the two things that have me where because the actor who plays Spider, he was saying that it's like the big twist is like 3, where everyone was expecting like a Terminator 2 type of twist with 2, but he's saying 3 has that. And the two things I hear are like rumbling around, just having looked at like old Avatar lore and stuff, is one, the Ash Clan you could see having like a civilization, like they might have iron tools and stuff like that, because like that's forbidden by like the laws of Awa, but for like the ocean and tree people
Oh.
and stuff. But this could
Hmm.
be a clan that is, I guess, just genuinely more harsh and warlike because of their environment. So all the other clans just stay clear of them. And then the other one I heard is we might be getting into some Native American wars, frontier Western type of stuff, where the RDA finds a clan that are willing to accept human weapons in exchange for different liberties or rights. Like the Ash Clan might like RDA technology. Like they
Oh,
might be
so
like,
like
dude,
the French Indian War.
That'd be super
yeah, like
interesting.
that.
Okay. It'd be like that, or I guess
Like,
like when you look at the Aztecs, the Spanish sided with the Tlaxcalans. They basically set some of the tribes against each other. And then basically they all
yeah.
fucking died at the end. But
So like we might see the Navi version of the like the Aztecs, like the basically the warrior kingdom of the Navi, like or like the Comanches of the Navi, where like they are the aggro mob of
everyone is my enemy. Yeah.
yeah, like they're the ones that the natives beef with. Like everyone's cool, but there's these one guys that just like they're just on one. So yeah, that would be pretty like I hope it's something like that. So it's it's the Ash Clan, and then potentially we'll get the glimpse of like the next story arc, and that's to do with Earth.
Okay.
Which I like after Terminator 2, I have been starved for a James Cameron future war sequence. So it'd be crazy if they like show Earth and it's just like the intro to Demolition Man or like like Elysium on crack. Like
It's like if it'll probably be like if Elysium, Blade Runner, Dread, and Mad Max had a baby, and it's like, what does Earth look like? And it's like this, and all they need is Junkie XL to show back up for the fucking soundtrack, like just
yeah.
fucking play the Mad Max theme.
What
Oh
I'm
god.
actually kind of hoping for is I know he'll have to portray it in a negative light because it's an environmentalism story, but
Yeah.
I would love to see what James Cameron's modern interpretation of cyberpunk would be. Because like I think an underrated aspect of just James Cameron in general is like he invented the aesthetic language that military sci-fi video games still riff today. Like almost every single sci-fi video game has something to do with aliens, be it if it's not the alien itself, the colonial marines in the setting.
Yeah.
So with Avatar, I thought it was impressive that like the humans just aren't colonial marines in a new movie. They're like actually a new and unique force that he like designed from the ground up. So I'd like to see him do the same for Earth, where it's like I would like to see something that's not derivative, like it's just not Blade Runner. Like it might not even look cyberpunk in the way we're used to seeing it. It could be really sterile. Like it could actually just look like a just a desert with really nice buildings, like and towns and stuff. Just no thuns.
Like Mandalore.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, actually, you could. Yeah, you could actually pull it off. Now that I think about it.
Like the only piece of like lore I can drag from is like Bermuda is one of the most isolated places in the world, and the scientist Norm from the first one, he was born on the man-made islands off the coast of Bermuda. So
Interesting.
Oh,
yeah, there's like
Wow.
that many people on Earth that there's like platforms that
we're
have
literally
cities
making more
on them.
land.
That's kind of
Yeah,
horrifying. Yeah. Holy shit.
it could be like some 40K type of place where it's just literally like spire cities and stuff.
That makes sense. Yeah. God, I hate the idea of that, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's cool, but like crazy at the same time. Like for like the amp suit that has been deployed on like lunar favela wars. Like there have been like I guess Luna has slums that are big enough to have militias fighting each other. So like peacekeepers use amp suits there.
Oh my God, that's crazy. I didn't even think about like, oh yeah, we probably have already colonized other planets at this point if we're going all the way to
Yeah.
Pandora, which is like who knows how far.
Probably most
I
of the
think
solar
Pandora's
system.
the only extrasolar one. Yeah, it's the only colony that's outside the galaxy, not the galaxy, our like solar system.
Oh, it's Pandora.
Yeah,
Okay, that would make sense. It's not like Halo. It's more like Destiny, where Destiny at least they're going in the
yeah.
solar system, whereas Halo is like, oh, we're going to the Alpha Uranus, like whatever system, and then it's all glassed
Yeah.
and fucked by aliens and shit.
Yeah, I think the
I just
most
got to go to planets the hard way.
I think the most description we got of Earth in the first one was just like when Jake was trying to talk to Awa, and it was just like, look at Grace's memories. Like they killed their mother. Like, so
Yeah,
he made it sound like there's very little, if like no organic like plant matter left on Earth.
Yeah.
Like it's all synthetic at this point.
I know
Which
the
is
kid in the extended release is there's like a scene of a kid watching TV, and on the TV they're talking about they're arguing about like counterfeit tiger clones. Like,
God damn it.
yeah, like it's something crazy, dude. Like I thought that was a really funny like blink and you miss
If
it.
you
Like
cut
down
into
in
this
there,
tiger, it's soy. It's
yeah,
just like,
like
no.
like making counterfeit tigers. Like you just get one, it's like this one's purple. Real
This
tigers
one's
look like this.
vegan. It eats
Yeah.
grass. I hate it.
So yeah,
Oh my
I'm
God.
thinking they might get Awa and like make a version of Awa for Earth and then drop it off to help out.
I
Help
mean,
out
would it be
Earth.
then? Do you think it could potentially be Kiri?
Yeah, I think Kiri's gonna be like the liaison for that because one, it's kind of emulating Valley of the Wind. Like they even had the Field of Gold trope where she gets like basically taken to the resolution of the film by all those gold fish, just like how the lift up Nausicaa with the gold tentacles.
Oh, if it's like Nausicaa, I will lose, dude. That I finally get my spiritual successor to Nausicaa. Oh, I will cry with
Yeah.
joy.
So I get
Yeah.
the impression, because like one of the major things for Kiri was like, who is her father? And we didn't get that answer in this.
She's
I
like
wouldn't
blue
be
Jesus.
well, that's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it's literally just like Awa used Grace's body to like make a chosen one, essentially. And like, yeah,
Yeah.
she just like ascends and becomes the new like nature god.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Because she literally seemed to be able to like feel and communicate and control like other life on Pandora.
Dude, I just want to say real fast the scene where she uses the anemones to
Yeah, that
crush
was
the sub
awesome.
and then proceed to literally kill that man.
Did she?
The
I love like
anemone.
the look on her face when she just like like closes her fist and like crushes the dude, and they're just like, oh
And
my
the other two are
god.
looking at her like, oh fuck, we should have made
The-
fun of her.
Well, should we call
cruelty
her a
of the
freak?
child.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
dude.
I honestly, that was incredibly. That's the thing when the Navi were killing all the I guess I don't know. Yeah, I guess a mix of Marines and whalers. Like
Mhm.
I
those
only
kills
feel
were
bad for
so
Fred
satisfying in the
Armisen.
theater. I was incredibly satisfied with each kill. I was like, dude, this is like on
Yeah.
point. The way their combat is.
The only one that I felt bad for was Fred Armisen, because he's just like, he literally was just doing the whaling shit to fund his research on the whales.
Well, we
And
don't
it
know
was
if he's
just like,
dead.
I hope not, because he was the only person who was just like actually rooting for the whale to kill them all, because he's like, huh, who's the
Oh
one
no,
with the
that wasn't
harpoon
Fred
now?
Armisen. That was Jermaine Clement from Flight of the
Oh,
Conchords.
my bad. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
meant Jermaine Clement.
Oh,
But yeah,
yeah.
Dr. Garvin, like the whole thing with Dr. Garvin, like he gave you the vibes of the scientist that sided with the Navi in the first movie.
Yeah.
And the way I was feeling it was, yo, watch this dude survive and just live with this shore clan that they're in right now. And he'll just be like kind of like the way the others are, where they all live together now. The humans and Navi of
Next time you see
this
him, he's
fourth
just
one.
like, yeah, I'm a soul brother with a cartoon now.
I mean, I doubt he's
Yeah,
not
that
gonna
would be
look
like
like I doubt he'd look like Spider or anything, but I think he'd just be there like doing his thing of like, yeah, I'm like I do this thing and I study stuff, they're cool with me, and I show them new stuff too on my side. Like cause you feel for him, you see like he's literally like rooting for the whale as it's trying to kill them, and he's
Yeah,
like laughing like we're about to die.
like when
And
he's doing
before
the whole
that, he's like, this is why I drink. Like
yeah,
I
when he's
don't
doing
like
the whole
this.
extraction process, he literally looks like he just like hates it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Dude,
like
I-
I've watched enough Shark Week specials where you see a lot of the shark scientists places like Florida and other I guess like East Coast areas where the laws aren't really good there and the people, you know, they don't really give a shit. They kind of waste a lot of stuff. They'll go and kill sharks and be like, you know, it's fun, right, guys? It's a cool contest, and you know they're pretty stupid. But like the scientists go there anyway, and they're like, well, it's gonna happen either way. If we can't stop it, we might as well be there to at least like dissect the ones that they kill and check out and see what we can learn that we haven't learned already and get some use out of it, so it's not a complete waste. Because it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's not like they do finning and do shark fin soup here in the States or anything. So it really is like, what do they do with these sharks? So you do like at least for me, I was able to since I've already seen that and seen the way Dr. Garvin is, I'm like, oh my god, I can relate to seeing this because I've already seen this before in real life. So it was really like captivating the way they pull that off with the realism
Yeah.
of that kind of thing.
Like two things I really noticed is one with the Navi is since they connect via that queue to their mounts, in a way I see how they outmaneuver the helicopter pilots. Because like if anyone plays like a flight simulator like Ace Combat or something, which is super dumbed down from an actual aircraft's controls, like to see like Neytiri take out the door gunners and then swoop back around and shoot the cockpit guy, like the reactions you would need to like spot an aggressor like that, then maneuver and helicopter into like a firing solution. Like I see like that makes a lot more sense that the helicopters were getting destroyed in this new one than it was in the previous one because you didn't have that context.
Yeah, where it's like when they're with their mounts, like they're pretty much they're one. They're like doing their thing
Yeah.
as one, considering instead of like piloting something lifeless that you're just kind of like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Like
Yeah. Like that's why I feel like those helicopters, and even then, like I don't know how you can make ballista-proof glass. Like those things are, it's like a 9-foot diamond tip spear. Like that's
Yeah.
dude,
kind of
her
hard.
bows, her arrows are insane. They just like pierce everything, and you're just like, I'm dead. And you just watch the fucking plane crash into the rocks, and you're like,
Yeah, like I don't want to be an RDA guy anymore. Like it's not fun.
I'm going blue, guys. Deuces.
Yeah. Right. Spider looked like he was having a way better time. Except
honestly, yeah, really. They call dude. You just go over there and be like, "What's up, bro?" And then you're good. Like everyone calls each other bro. Have a good time. My hair is some weird shit. You know, it's all fun.
Just run around in the trees. Like I just love how he leaves home and just walks into the trees like of a loincloth. Like,
He really did. Yeah, he's just like, I'm Tarzan now. I love that he acts completely savage, hisses, and then sees them in like when they come out of the scientists come out and they're like, oh hey, what's up, Miles? Oh, what's up, dude? Like he's like, oh hi, what's up, man? Like does a fist bump, and you're just like went from hissing 1 second to that, and it's like he can go in and out of it completely, which was hilarious. Or like the fact like when they first land on the ship, and they have the mounts at this point, so like all the military avatars hop down. You just see Miles hop down too, and he's just like, what's up, guys? And he's just like standing there with like his shoulders out. He's like, oh bro, like we're here on your ship.
He was a good teenager. Like I think people get really mad at, like they were just authentic. Like teenagers are annoying. Like they say stuff like that. I think they do stuff like that. I think the other one that had me kind of laughing too was like Natiri's like insults were really like they felt like really her insults, where she was like, "You have done nothing." Like,
Yeah.
Dude, that was one of that's my favorite part of like that. She's just so fucking.
Yeah.
Neytiri is, I think, and it's just like Jake. Jake was more interesting in this because he's a dad. Neytiri is more interesting in this because she's been taken out of her setting. She has kids now, and also she's just like having to vie, like she's very territorial, and now she's dealing with another like lead female Navi, to the point where I think the best hissing was between both of them when they first arrive, and she's like checking her tail, and they're like and like they're doing that, and both the tribal leader and Jake look at each other like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like, the girls didn't like each other. This ain't going down. Like the other happy die was like just she tells herself like, I should just pluck your eyes out.
Yeah, I was about to say that, but she's just like again, like Jake, she's like has the scene where she's like mad at her kids or something. She's like, Awa, give me the strength not to pluck out my kid's eyes.
Yeah, that's such like a what?
And she gets right into his face too, and it's just like, like just because the whole thing is you forget, you're like, oh, that's right, Jake was human prior to this. Like he's used to. Neytiri is completely fully Navi. Like she has been in it that whole time, and she's had to adapt to Jake. Really, they've adapted to each other, which is honestly really interesting. Seeing them fully like married and together for multiple years, considering like you see the first one, and
she still calls him my Jake.
Yeah, and it's like fun to watch that now because like he's completely in with them now. Like it's all he had to do was get on a giant killer bird, and it worked. But like,
you know something I just noticed? She calls, like you said, my Jake. Like she calls him my Jake because all the Navi names are 2-syllable. So she added that to make it easier for her to say.
Oh, I never even thought of that.
Noak, Nathiam. Yeah, that makes actually a lot of sense. Huh. Except for Took. Took's Took.
Maybe she has a second name.
Yeah, the nickname.
Kiri, which for the long, I kept hearing Kiri, and I'm like thinking Kitty Pryde. I'm like,
I kept hearing Kitty as well,
and I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny because they're like cats and they call her Kitty, and then it's like, no, it's Kitty.
Yeah, I thought that like Spider was calling her Kitty, and she was calling him Monkey Boy. Like I thought it was like their names for each other.
That's what I love. I just love that they call him Monkey Boy, and I just like. It's just so
everything
good.
Just fit. Like it
really
gnarly.
The dialogue, there's some dialogue that's not good, like the whole a son for a son, and I'm like, why would you say that?
Well,
But
even when
like,
they're like roughhousing his kids, they're like he's like pulling on the cat's tails and shit. And she's like, yeah, that's something a kid would do.
yeah, and they're just like, come here, let me fucking get you. Like, what's
Uh,
and like the whole thing, they know Spider's been captured. And they go and get him, and like when they get captured and they see Spider there, and it's like, "Hey, dude, you okay?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, fucking
yeah,
bro,
bro,
this
never been
fucking
better.
sucks." Yeah,
Uh, dude, when like oh, what was the mom's name? Natiri?
yeah.
Like when their oldest son dies though, and she goes on her rampage, I literally was like, oh shit. Don't fuck with
Yeah.
her.
Dude, that's
That
she is.
Just
The
like
whole
the
thing
shadow
is
moving around the ship, just like killing everyone before they can even see her.
Jake is the
they
most
they really
formidable.
channeled some like Mel Gibson's The Patriot with this. Like
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
that's one thing I couldn't stop thinking about. It just reminded me of him
oh yeah. You
with the
said that because Jake
tomahawk.
even has the fucking yeah. He has the tomahawk axe, like the way that
Yeah, like
straight up
the
just like Mel
sons, the
Gibson.
tomahawks to like just being like well then again I just loved how it shifted to this like Metal Gear slash True Lies action movie fight
It
at
was just
the
like
end.
the whole thing is like, you're really gonna let me go knowing I'm out there that I'll keep hunting you forever? And it's like, okay, let's get it on then.
Yeah, let's fuck
Yeah,
it. I'm gonna kill you. And he does. He beats the shit out of him. Like, even though he's now got the blue advantage too, he's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you." And if Spider didn't save him, like he was fucking dead. Like he lost completely.
dude. The thing I like too is Jake and Natiri are probably the most experienced veterans on the planet for fighting the
Yep.
RDA, and
That's why
they demonstrate that pretty well, like the tactics they use.
even a lot of the
Like,
Navi now, when they raid them, like they're all starting to use weapons more. Like they're kind of
yeah,
doing a mix
They're
of
even
it.
like taking the human guns too.
Yeah, which is
yeah.
honestly what a lot of the, I believe, like American Indians would do, because you know, eventually they had to get horses. They would utilize guns and stuff like that. Like you'd see them advance on their own to be able to keep up and fight the humans, or in that case, I guess the colonizers, the whites and whatnot.
Mm.
But I will say too, the way that, you know, we say the story is like the weakest part of the film compared to everything else. And it is like the dialogue, certain parts of the dialogue are kind of like, you look at James Cameron and you're like, you and George aren't so different after all. Like you need someone to
Yeah,
like be
Star
there
Wars
and
dialogue.
yeah, you need someone there to be like, I see what you're saying. Now let me write it, because yours is kind of like, you're a bad writer. You can't do this no more. It's like, I see what you're doing, you Gungan. Like, stop. But like I said, like the end line, not the first son for his son, but after his son already died and he accepts Spider and says his son for his son, like everyone
Yeah,
in the
that was
theater
so
just kind of
weird.
looked at each other like, why would you say that? But there was like dialogue like that. Some of the military dialogue always felt kind of weird and random. Like it felt very like, I guess, pulpy or campy, even though it didn't feel pulpy or campy in the situation. So it felt a
What
little
I
out
feel
of
like
place.
is it felt like whenever you watch an anime in English, like it felt
Yes,
like a
honestly, yeah,
translated anime
that's
where
honestly a perfect
it
No,
way of
was
that,
putting it.
precise and functional. Like the script, the lines aren't bad per se, like, but yeah, it's just like the deliveries and inflections, like they're it's mechanical, like it works as a building, like, you know, it makes sense, but it's just not the doesn't have like say the edge, say like a Christopher Nolan dialogue would have.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's not like Inception when you see the dialogue in that and you're like, oh, glorious good times of whatever. Like,
Yeah.
for this though, I think there are two things of it. One, there was still a point that actually got me, and it was with Neytiri, where she does see Nathiam's corpse, like when she watches him die, and she like breaks down, and it's like it's probably the realest part of the movie, because it's straight up just, dude, this mom is losing her mind. She just lost her firstborn son, and they do such a good job of it, and especially like Jake going like, I need you here right now. They have the girls. We have to go like fucking murder them all, and she
Yeah.
goes insane. But like, I think I can't remember how I felt the first time watching it, but the second time it actually got me, and I was like almost tearing up a bit for it, because it was so sudden the way he's just like, oh, I'm dead,
I
and
think he's like,
like
I want to go home. It's just like, oh Jesus.
yeah, it's just like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, and he didn't even get to finish what he was gonna say. He was gonna say something else, and he just dies. He never gets to finish whatever he was gonna say to his father, And yeah, the Neytiri does such a good job because you're just like, God damn, she has like 4 kids, and going through all this, having them captured not like once, not twice, but like 3 fucking times now. Back to even Toop's
Yeah.
like, why do I keep getting captured?
Yeah,
He's
she's like, I
like,
can't believe I'm
he's like,
tied up
"Fuck."
again.
But they do say, like, you can see though he's still capable of getting you to like feel emotional. And that's such a good feat. But also I will say, in this will knock his other films, but in his defense of Avatar 2, this isn't that different from the quality of dialogue from even the best
Yeah.
of his films. I want you to go back and watch Aliens, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, maybe not Titanic. I don't really know for Titanic. I mean, actually, no. Fucking draw me like one of your
You know
French
what I mean?
girls.
That game over, man, game over wasn't
Like,
peak
yeah,
dialogue.
exactly. Look at the dialogue in
Yeah.
all those fucking movies, and you're like, yeah, these are great. You know, Terminator 2 is a 10 out of 10. Bro, look at the fucking dialogue. Like, come on. Like, these are all the. You can't knock Avatar 2s without knocking Terminator. And you have to understand that when you go back and watch
Yeah.
it. You're just not looking at it the way you want to because you don't want that perfection ruined. But they are all the
I don't know.
same
I'd give Terminator a pass. I watched that recently again, and it still holds up pretty well.
in terms of all the dialogue. Because it's
Yeah,
also.
I mean, it's not like the most like, it doesn't make you think a whole hell of a lot, but at least it doesn't feel like rigid and like unbelievable, I
Well, it's
guess.
because one dude's a robot. He doesn't have to try that.
Well, no, I'm just
Well,
mostly focusing on like Kyle Reese and
Okay.
how
Well,
Sarah
yeah.
Connor
Terminator
reacts
1.
to like,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, were you talking about two specifically?
I mean, but more or less both, because it's like, the one that has a lot of the lines is just straight up like,
Okay, two though, I'll give you two does have a lot more of like, because it's literally the kid John Connor teaching his robot how to
killing's
talk
bad.
cool. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, when you waste someone, say hasta la vista.
Yeah, I mean, who the fuck really?
The two things that kind of stick out to me with the dialogue is like from a production standpoint, this movie was in a hyperbolic time chamber. Like we're looking at a script that was written maybe in like 2014 or
Yeah.
finalized in 2014 or something. So I think if it came out earlier, the dialogue would have been a lot more relevant. In fact, it would have probably been like cutting edge. Like the amount like bro has become such an established in our like vocabulary and Zeitgeist that it is unusual to see it in a movie. But if someone was looking at people, like if an alien was looking at people, they would notice you guys say bro a lot. Like
Yeah.
you
I mean,
love
if I
saying
was
like bro.
like already in my real, like just me, I say bro and dude probably more than anything. I probably call people bro and dude more than their actual names at this point.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
revelation at some point where I was like reading a bunch of manga and watching a bunch of anime, and I was always like, it's weird. Like some characters will just like add like one thing at the end, like a little word that they always say, or like, they'll say like chan or sensei or something at the end, and I'm like, we don't really do
Yeah.
that in America. And then I was like,
No.
well, yeah, we fucking do. I say dude at the end of all of my sentences. I do that all
Exactly.
the time.
Well, you say sensei
Yeah.
if you take Rex Kwon Do, you bow to your sensei. That's about it. Like in
Yeah.
Napoleon, but that's about
Dude,
sensei.
there's that one, and the other one too. I thought was this is less relevant and more just making rationalizations up. But this is also like a space colony. Like it's not like they have normal internet or they can make instant phone calls to Earth. So like whatever culture is on that base or whatever's on that planet, that's gonna be the culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not gonna be on like the cutting edge of slang, or in fact it will seem dated and antiquated.
Yeah,
Actually,
it literally took like almost a decade or something for them to get shit back to Pandora.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. But also, actually, speaking of like figuring out lingo, Sigourney Weaver as Kiri. All right, two things. One, she had to actually go to high schools to observe students to see how they were nowadays, to be like, so this is what kids are like now, so she could properly like voice a teenage Navi girl, which is funny because she's like in her 70s, I think now.
Yeah.
But
She did a
two,
good job.
Yeah.
she did a mostly good job, but there were points where you could feel like she's juggling being trying to sound like a teenager, but also still having this accent. So it would kind of, you'd feel like you got 3 different Kiris throughout the movie where you're like, all right, here's actual teenage accent one, here's just teenage, and here's just the accent, but adult. And I'm like looking at all 3 and I'm like, which one's the real Kiri voice? because they
Yeah,
did
fair
feel
enough.
different in certain parts of the movie. When you listen to her talk, like they do get different.
Yeah.
I think, of course, the most teenage thing was her visual emotions, where she'd be like, oh, like do the eye rolls and
Yeah.
stuff, or like when
Yeah.
her brothers stick up for her and start the fight, and she's like, stop, this is stupid, and she just starts laughing.
Yeah.
Like that
was
was,
really funny.
yeah, that, like, I mean, obviously she becomes like, she's obviously one of the probably main characters now. Her and Noak were like the two new like stars. I mean, now we know for sure Nathiam's not going to get any more limelight, so
Yeah.
he's kind of dead. But I do see those two probably prospering more in the next movie. And I do hope, though, like, I guess Sigourney's got a little bit down more. Like, she's now used to this more, and now she has to get used to it for another 9 hours of footage. So you kind of be like, all right, you good? You got this accent down? Because it's fun hearing them with this special accent, because it's so
Mhm.
unique. The way they kind of pulled off. Like, when you look at the family, each one sounds completely different, and you're like, not even just with the, not vocally, I mean just like with the way they speak, you're like, Nathaim, yeah, he sounds like them, and Kiri, we can't tell what she wants to be, and Noak sounds like he's from Earth, and Took is just child.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did like how
Whee!
they could like jump between languages. And then also like I liked Kiri because even though it was Sigourney Weaver playing a teenager, dude, sometimes teens act like old souls. Like, you know, you just
They
meet
do.
like a kid who's just on one. So like it almost was like a pretty like authentic way. Like she just seemed like the manic pixie girl of the family. Like she's just gonna be doing weird, sounding weird. Like so
It's because she's
I
connected, she
ended up
talks
like
to God, so that's why she's like, oh hey God, now I'm feeling older.
dude, like I thought it was pretty ballsy for them to put in the movie where they're like, I don't think your daughter's a messiah. She just is epileptic.
Yeah.
Like that was like I was like, that's pretty
Religious
hardcore
Like,
vision.
for a
but she said
movie.
she can hear AWA. Like, yeah, no, it's all the brain. It's in the brain, man.
Yeah. And of course, like in the future when they have much better technology, like that's a very easy diagnosis to make for them. Like that's very simple. So like it was a really good contrast, I thought. And then even down to like Carrie waking up, not particularly because of the tribal stuff working better. She could have just gotten better naturally and just came to. But that's also like how those affirmations happen, where like they're like, see, my medicine is better. And then like the
Yeah.
scientists can't tell her, well, there's nothing really wrong with her. She just had a seizure. Like so it's there's so many like I don't want to call them idiosyncratic, like I can't even pronounce the word. But the thing I would say about James Cameron fiction and then like conversely Avatar is a lot of the stuff people like don't like is because it's actually so absurd it's authentic. Like some stuff is where like uh art emulates life and all that type of stuff. Like a lot of stuff is just so unusual that or like you know life defies logic that in a movie you'll notice it but in real life you won't. I mean like even as simple as in the first one when they had to push that bomb off a plane, like
Oh,
daisy
true.
cutters. Yeah, like like that is that's the old school method that's worked before. Like it'd be cheap, that's what they would do. um but yeah, with the people, it was interesting to see what occupied their time since they don't have like human luxuries anymore. Um, something that I guess I wish they showed more is just like what do the humans kind of get up to outside of like whaling? Like what's life on Bridgehead like? I think that would have grounded the movie a bit more. Like I do think the humans need more depth in this third one. Like they can't just be the like antagonistic force for a third time. They're
Yeah,
getting like orcs now.
because Quark is the one kind of leading it at this point, and he carries a good amount. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing, when I think I talked to you about it. When you look at Quark and you're like, this dude's gonna be the villain for five movies, and like, or at least he's in all five movies. And I remember someone being like, we're gonna deal with this dude for five movies on Twitter, and I responded, and I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, like this dude, you can easily, like, he is someone you kind of love to hate because of all the shit he does, but also he's so charismatic that you hate this guy, but you kind of are fine getting a drink with him at the bar at the same time. Like
Yeah.
he's so fun to hear him talk. Like his dialogue is actually just enjoyable. It's actually like Schwarzenegger Terminator tier dialogue of enjoyment, I would
Yeah.
say.
Dude, he's a villain, and if I was an RDA Marine, I'd be like, aye, aye, sir.
Yeah,
We'll
I know you're
get
all
him.
wondering why so blue, and it's just
I
you and
think my
me,
I love
we're
they were called
nothing.
Blue Team.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was great. That was great that they were called Blue
Yeah.
Team. God.
It made me laugh when he was just like telling Spider, like, look, dude, you misbehave on a mission, you just get an old fashioned ass whooping. Like, and you're like,
Yeah.
this guy would beat up a kid. Like, he's evil enough.
I mean, that's the thing. He was so charismatic. Spider was like, I'm enjoying my time with my dad that I hate, even though he's like kind of dead. And he's like, we're nothing to each other. And then like they just enjoy themselves. It really was an impromptu like father son thing. And then it's like literally at the end, he's like, I forgot you're evil, and then left.
Yeah.
Thanks, son.
He goes from like teaching his dad languages to like, we're gonna burn down this village.
He's like, this is not what I wanted. And it's like at the same time, you see him as Blue Man more compassionate, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
because the whole thing is even what's his face, who was a bastard in the first movie that also gets brought back. He's like second in command guy.
Oh,
Um,
Wayne Fleet.
yeah, he's like, are we really gonna waste her, Sarge? Like he even asked, it's not like, are we
Yeah,
like,
he's like,
let's waste her. He's
Yeah.
like, are we gonna do it? And he's like, no. And he's just, we don't need to. And even uses tactic, like it almost feels like he's sparing them tactically because he's like, we don't, if we kill them, it's not going to do anything, so let's not even bother. We should do
Yeah.
something else. And it was just interesting. They're allowed to just come over and be like, we're searching the premises, and they're like, oh fuck, all right. And just give up immediately with the other
Yeah.
tribes. They're like, it's like, dude, he's from the forest, he doesn't even go here, why are you asking us this?
Go back on Wayne Fleet. I just liked how they had the I'm kind of bummed. That's another thing I didn't like is the recoms. I think were too cool characters for them to have gotten wasted so quickly.
A bunch of them did. Yeah, they all got like destroyed immediately.
Dude, only Wayne Fleet survived.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's the only one confirmed to be in future films. And then also he doesn't visibly get killed. He just gets
he
like
falls
dumped
off the
in the
ship.
water.
You watch him. Yeah, so I knew immediately when they did that he's also the one that kills Nathayim. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah,
he's the one that shoots
he
him.
shoots him.
Yeah. I think it would be cool if they do a thing where they're like, yeah, we can keep bringing these avatars and growing these specific military people, and that's how you bring them back. But I think this is really just you all get one life. But
I don't know.
I'm curious if they do more of them or not, if more of them will show up.
That was why I wasn't sure if I liked the decision to bring back the Quaritch guy from the first one, because like I didn't even find him that particularly interesting in the first one. He was just like the big bad guy that was like just happened to be in charge of the forces that were there. So I wasn't sure why they needed to bring him back for like a revenge plot almost for this movie. And also by introducing the idea that you could just like have a backup copy and bring someone back whenever, like I guess there is the added caveat that they literally had to grow this avatar and ship it from Earth, and it took like literally years.
Yeah.
But that now makes it like, well, even if you kill him again and again, like he could still keep coming back. Like it just depends on like how many times before the United States government or whoever's in charge is like, it's not worth the money to bring him back again.
Or it comes back the fifth time after dying. I'm ready for you, Sully. Sully's just like, I'm really old.
Yeah.
So fuck off.
Someone raised a pretty good point. I saw this one online that made me think is Quaritch's arc is going to get interesting because one, he costed the RDA their most valuable operation 10 years ago. And then he lost them another, not as expensive an operation, but still like a big ship got lost, a whole bunch of stuff. They lost the vial. Like that's 80 mil at least down the hole. That's gone. And when he comes back to the base, they might just be like, yo, we tried this recom thing and it wasn't worth the money. Like you didn't kill anybody. You lost more shit. In fact, we have a replacement. Like you can just be a random grunt now, or like can he can he go back to his civilian life? Like he's not that guy. Legally, he's not Quaritch. So he doesn't get his veterans compensation, all those earnings that Quaritch would have had should he survive. Like
And they wouldn't let
he's
like a blue
essentially
dude come back
nobody.
to Earth. Yeah. They're
Yeah,
fully
so
expendable now because they're not even probably considered real people too much.
like, dude, what if he
Yeah.
gets back to the RDA base and they have another Quaritch on site, like with a new team?
I
That'd
could
be
see them having
insane.
backups.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah,
And I'm wondering, like, when you look at it all too, the scientists when they still go into their Navi avatars, uh, they're still like, you know, human looking. They still have clothing and stuff. Only Jake is the only one that went native. Everyone else like stuck
yeah,
with it. So even if like let's say Quark like switches teams or something, like I think he would still show up as Army Man. And I honestly
mhm.
love it when they still stick in. I love the Army Navi like style. They look really cool. The way that they're all kitted out and stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting also seeing like, well, they had the foothold of also being Navi and like the power that comes with it. What would then the real like what does the new big bad like advantage come
Yeah.
through in 3? Like what do they have that's so insane that the Navi really have to try extra? Besides the fact that
So
the C ones aren't as I guess like weaponous as the Force ones. The Force ones have more types of weapons and they know how to adapt, whereas the C ones really
yeah,
legit just had spears.
yeah, they weren't like the same type of peoples. But I think that's like they're temporary characters. I don't think they'll show up as intensely as they did in this one.
Yeah.
Um, the two things I guess I'm kind of interested in is, would the humans even be the bad guys in this hypothetical third one? Like,
I mean, I want the Warlike Ash tribe to be good just because I'd hate it to be like, we finally got the Aztecs, the evil. I'll be like, fuck. Like,
it'll probably be a mix. Like, I don't think he'll want to repeat either film. Um, they'll be antagonists, but I don't think he would make outright villains, or
yeah.
at least he'd separate the plot in a way like maybe they're the ones who don't want Earth to get a second chance.
Okay.
Something like my personal theory that having seen Avatar 2 is a little different now, but what I was thinking was going to happen is human space, like they have like their World War VI, like they have a war that like actually not only fucks up Earth but human space in general, and the RDA ends up representing like, we don't know what happened to Earth. All we know is we can still function here and we can survive. So they become almost like the last kind of bastion for humanity. Like, what if Bridgehead was the last city left? Or like that's the only city they know of. Like they haven't had contact from Earth in a while. Um, that was one theory, and the other one was, what if the RDA built a wormhole where it didn't take 10 years for stuff to arrive?
Yeah.
Like if they're able to expedite that process, like those would be two big game changers. Because one, the Navi could go to Earth a lot easier. It wouldn't take 10 years for them to travel, or 5 years. And then the other one is, if the humans, lost their advantage, which is their like relentless resources and numbers, how would the dramatic landscape of a sequel look? If like, I guess humans have powerful technology, but now all of a sudden they're limited.
Okay. That's an interesting thought, honestly. Yeah, I'm curious to see how that would go. Yeah. I mean, if anything, too, I will say like we have more content than just the films now. Like there are
Yeah.
comics, and I do want to read them and I want to check them out because I think there's 2 or 3 miniseries now that they've done. And then on top of that, we're getting the game from Ubisoft done by I think it's Massive Entertainment, the ones that have done Division 1 and 2.
Whoa.
And that game is coming out next year, and I'm really pumped for it. So I'm curious to see how much more they can really flesh out this world and kind of flesh out not just Pandora, but flesh out like what's going on with Earth. Give us more tidbits, like what's exactly going on, what is there we can look
Yeah.
forward to and stuff like that. because I think the whole thing with the comics and the game is they tie in with the like it's not like a separate thing from the films. It's all one world, like Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it should be cool to see what they can do, and the fact that I think they're going to double down on Avatar, especially considering when you look at Star Wars theatrically, it's become a failure, and right now the films that they are working on are so just scattered right now. Like they don't even have like a potential impact point of
Yeah.
when they'll even come out, which was originally like, oh, the Avatar movie is going to come almost like the 2 and 3 are going to come like back to back, and then the others there'll be like a 1 or 2 year gap, and then 4 and 5 will show up. Now because of Star Wars, they were like, we're going to do every other year, one Star Wars, one Avatar, one Star Wars, one Avatar, probably all during like December. And
Yeah, dang.
Star Wars did not make that quota, but we have at least, I guess, until 2024 December is when we'll probably get Avatar 3. And that gives them enough time to, I guess, do a 9-hour movie and then cut it. So they've got time to work on it. I'm sure they've been working on it this whole time. Who knows? But it's gonna be interesting to see. Any final points on anything, you guys?
My last one is the Avatar game for the 360. Low key, kind of awesome. Like that was a game I expected.
Did it have
to
like
be
the?
bullshit.
Did it have like the Peter Jackson game, Peter Jackson King Kong energy?
No, it had the Gears of War energy. Like
Really?
if you play as the RDA, like that's what I'm saying. Like it's video game brain because like they have to make a video game, right? So it can't reflect the movie. So like in this, you're like a Doom guy, security trooper, and you like take on like half the planet. You like fight one of those giant hammerhead things like on foot.
Oh my
With
god.
an LMG.
Okay,
It's an awesome like game, but it's just like the uncanny valley you get from watching the movie where like the army guys are getting manhandled to like the game where you have like the upgraded machine gun and you're like chucking your cluster grenades and killing like 50 Navi guys. It's like kind of funny.
Oh my
But
god.
the game mechanically is fun to play. Like it actually just is a fun game. It's like Gears if it had vehicles.
Okay. Interesting.
They could absolutely make a like World of Warcraft style MMO, but just like instead of the Horde and the Alliance, it's what's the human thing?
The
called?
RDA,
The RDA versus the Navi.
Christ, I don't.
Everyone would join the RDA. Every gamer.
Nah, I want to be blue
RDA.
now. I like the blue shit. To be honest, I want to bond
like,
with a shark or a tiger and be like, yo, this is crazy.
For every Navi, there would be like 20 human players. There'd be more
Bring
human
it
players
on.
than Blades of Grass.
I mean, we saw what we saw what Nitiri did. I think we can take him.
That would be a cool. It would be a cool dynamic if they genuinely made the Navis like truly overpowered, like they are in the movies. Because then I want to play a Sec Ops guy even more. Because if you killed one, you'd be like, "Yeah, like we got one.
We did it." You look around, all of your dudes are dead. Oh,
Dude, like the drawing I did for this one, like I would love to see. Like I wish they had a scene where like the Sec Ops guy kill one of the monsters, and they all take pictures with it or something. Like that would be gnarly to be like whoa! Like, I think look at this thing.
Miles, I think you would have prospered if we had gotten like an Ants video game where it was like, the movie Ants where they go and they fight the termites.
The ants versus the crickets.
And the giant in the movie Ants, not Bugs Life, where they
I always get those mixed up.
termite nest and all the termites come out and they're fucking massive and they're just like tearing ants apart.
It's like Starship Troopers.
Yeah, it was straight up Starship Troopers with fucking with just ants. It was actually that. But like imagine that as a game. Like that would be insanity.
Yeah, that would be wicked.
Yeah, that'd be super crazy. Which I forget if there's a new Earth Defense Force that ever came out because it makes me want to go and play one again.
Dude, I'm waiting. Oh, I need some new Earth Defense Force. Like
we gotta kill the bugs. Like it's so fucking good.
Like,
oh good.
I know James Cameron would like never allow it because he's actually kind of pissed that people love the human characters so much. Even Stephen Lang, the guy who plays the Colonel, he was like they told him like, you know, there's people who really admire your character and stuff. And he's like, I didn't even want to know him. Like, this sounds stupid.
I
And
mean,
was just like,
I didn't have any admiration for him in the first movie. It was only until he became a blue dude. And I'm like,
oh, I thought he was the coolest guy.
yeah, he's
ever,
great.
dude.
He was like, like I said, I'd go to I get drinks with this guy. He's really fun.
Yeah.
The thing too. All right, but my last points of the movie. One, yeah, it's I think one of the best movies that have portrayed like teenage and child characters in a long time. I don't think we've gotten something this good in terms of portraying children. Two, I do appreciate that even though they portray like all the corporations, the military is evil, there's still a camaraderie and they're still good to each other. Like when the full thing happens, when the damage that happens to the ship, when the whale comes, you see like one of the military dudes in a mech pulling another guy out, and not one of the avatars pulling another injured marine out. Like they're all just trying to save them and make sure they don't die. Like there's still that feeling of like, you know, they're not completely, they're not like heartless ones in other movies where it's like, you'll kill your own people. Yeah, it's like this one's like, no, we're trying to save our own people.
It's not like Starship Troopers, not Star Wars, like Stormtroopers. Like
Star Wars that's the thing. This is like you don't get the Nazi feeling like you do in Star Wars or anything.
Yeah,
you just get that like, oh shit sucks. That's about it.
like I think one, I would hate to be like, having worked with boats and been in the RV, like knowing how heavy the equipment and stuff is, those guys got painful deaths. Like I would hate to be like a twin center console boat just going full throttle into a rock. Like that's one of the worst ways to die. There's no seatbelts.
I did love the spider at some point
away.
in that last battle. Was like, wait a minute, why am I doing nothing? Smash!
Fucking the fire extinguisher, dude. That was funny as hell. Everyone's just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Chaos. Like
the monkey boys at it again.
Oh shit, right, that kid's still on the bridge.
Dude, I would have loved it if when he starts smashing the consoles just in big font and like fucking 90s metal, it just goes monkey boy. He starts, like, the boat goes
turns to monkey.
He straight up reject humanity, return to monkey. Like he's actually in a movie. We have it now. We have Monkey Boy.
Dude, I love it. That was a better Planet of the Apes movie than Planet of the Apes. I would join the Na'vi. I would be a monkey boy.
I feel it.
Dude, that would be super funny. Also, this is even less likely, but just like the Na'vi versus Caesar's Legion.
Oh yeah.
Oh god. I mean, those are just actually monkeys with guns.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what I was watching, man. Like, dude, that's like they talk about I don't know if it's called cognitive dissonance. It's got another term, but like, you know, in Uncharted games, Nathan Drake's a nice guy, but he kills like 400
yeah,
people.
he's simply a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the same thing with like Planet of the Apes, where it's like, you know, it's like an intelligent film, or trying to be intelligent, but then like on screen, a monkey has 2 M16s. But,
yeah.
How's the recoil going?
It's like, okay, guys, like you got me in the seat. You don't have to like act like this is a smart movie. Like, you have monkeys.
I still love the fact that Woody Harrelson's like, he caught monkey, and now he's just like, he finally caught the enemy. What's he gonna do? Oh, and you're like, oh fuck, he's just fucked up.
Bro did catch the monkey, bro.
He caught the monkey.
I never even saw the third one.
Oh, you just, dude, straight up. So the way they say it is, there's a new virus that comes from the monkeys, or the apes, whatever, and it literally it devolves the human mind to straight up like they can't do speech anymore, and that's how they become the cave people and like.
So that's how they explained that in the original movie.
I don't know how the original shit is at all, but like you know they.
Because that was the thing in the original Charlton Heston one, was like he was the only one that like could
he came
speak.
From space. Yeah. So yeah, all the ones now are like basically devolving because of that. They're all like starting to.
It was like a massive thing when he, his voice box starts working again because he was like injured, and he's just like, "Get your damn dirty paws off me, you ape," or whatever.
Yeah.
And literally all the apes around him are like, holy shit, that human can talk.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
you talk. I love the Simpsons one because he starts singing. You talk, I can sing. It's so stupid.
Zeus,
Fucking
Dr. Zeus.
but yeah, like yeah, the fucking Willie Harrelson, he's straight up like he's like the whole time like we're gonna kill these fucking apes, and at the end he's like oh, and you're like
Caught the monkey.
monkey. Like because there's a little girl with him like the whole time and she can't talk, and she's like at the brain power of like the adolescent monkeys, and they're all just playing around together, and you're just like, okay, I guess this is what happened. Like literally you just get dumb and then that's it. Like that's all that happens.
I'm glad I kind of didn't see that movie.
Yeah, you know who did that? Was Matt Reeves, dude. He did that and then he did the Batman. That's why everyone was kind of like, is the Batman gonna be good? And then because at least the second one I enjoyed the second one a lot. The second one I think was probably the best one of the three. Until the first one when he kills Draco Malfoy and he's like, no. I was, dude, when he started screaming, when Caesar started screaming no in the theater in the first one, I was fucking dying. I was laughing so hard because he's just like, no. And then he kills Draco Malfoy. He just like electrocutes him or something. I'm like, dude, 10 points from Slytherin, end your life. But,
this movie, I'm glad it embraced the like level of intellectualism that was presented. Like the movie did not try to be deeper than it needed to be, nor was it like more shallow than it should have been. Like it was just like the right tone, the right tone.
It was the right temperature of the water, you know. It was the right way of water. It was really good. I will say it doesn't help that last night I was at a buddy's place for Christmas and we were watching videos on like gorillas and orangutans. So then coming here and this and be like, yeah, go monkey. I'm just like, God damn it. I was prepared for this.
I want to meet like a fat Navi. Like I wonder if there's like I want the lazy Navi guy.
Yeah, we haven't even seen one of those. Yeah.
I want the Navi who loves human culture and he like eats Doritos and shit.
He's like a crime boss that get to him. Oh, no Navi no bara. Just like
I'm thinking like they're like, dude, this guy, all he does is collect human shit and like do nothing all day. Like,
dude, it's like how are we gonna trade with them? Like, he's already got Doritos. I got something new. 3D Dorito.
Yeah.
Yo, okay. This is gonna sound really stupid, but you know how they had one human child.
Navi. What could be more stupid than this? What do you mean?
They got like one human child that got left behind. That became Spider, and he basically just acts like a Navi. What if the humans took one Navi child and just like, or even just made one of the avatars like a living Navi and just like woke it up and just made it live as a human, and it's just like,
yeah, just be fucking Giancarlo Esposito in the fucking suit of like, you are blue and I am blue, we are not the same. It would be like fucking full suit Navi, just like, haha.
Dude, it would be kind of crazy if they had a Terminator Navi, like a sleeper agent in the third one.
He's like the dude in Scarface that kills him, the dude that shows up with the shades and like blows him out of the window. Yeah.
Dude, that. But the other one I was thinking about was actually nah, I'll be here all night.
Yeah, besides Fat Navi, I also have.
But yeah, like I think my final thoughts on this movie though, it just real quick, it's just like like I said earlier, I really enjoyed seeing a whole other different way of life on Pandora, and like even like I wasn't even expecting the Navi in different places to physically be different. Like I thought they'd essentially just be like they decided to live a different way depending on where they were, but like the ocean people at least have literally been living and like having a way of life designed around water to the point where like for so long that their arms are like flatter and they have like flatter tails and like they have better lung capacity. And even like the lenses over the eyes to make it easier to see. So they're literally
they're like
so like even the Navi themselves are differently adapted to different parts of the world. And that just made me way more interested to learn more about the other Navi cultures in different parts of the world. Because like if we saw Navi adapted so thoroughly to the water versus the forest, like what are the ash clans in the volcano region gonna look like? What are the mountain people gonna look like? What are the plains people gonna look like?
Mountain people would definitely be thicker because they would need a thicker skin, like thicker everything to contend with the cold and everything else. So that would be very interesting.
So that's why I'm like,
ready for the red Navi.
Oh, and that's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like even the ocean Navi were like they were still blue, but they were like aqua blue, so they kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
fit better in the water. And so yeah, like what if the Ash clans are just straight up gray because they fit better in the environment or whatever? And like
That would be cool.
so
They
yeah,
really
I'm
are.
like like even though it took like 13 years for this movie to come out, and I'm sure the next ones are going to come out sooner. Like
Oh yeah.
I still want to see way more Pandora just because I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for world building, and James Cameron did an amazing job with this. And I just want to see more of this world.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And Earth, yeah. You mentioned like Earth also has equally as interesting stuff, and like we've seen basically none of that.
Yeah, and now we know there's lunar slums too, so that's
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting
Yeah,
shit.
dude, Avatar lore is like the thing I like about it is it's like a new frontier again. Like since there's not much Avatar super fans, so like it's pretty interesting, and it's James Cameron stuff. So he's like thought of everything. Like I think another fun fact is like the amp suit is made by Mitsubishi.
Oh,
Like,
that's actually really cool.
like,
Hey,
yeah,
we
it
ditched
kind of
cars.
fits.
Now we've got fucking amp suits and crab suits and fucking subs and shit. Like a Toyota sub, the Honda crab. Fucking
Yeah,
oh my god.
it's
Yeah,
like,
I love I will say like it is a cool universe to get into now because it's really you're there at the ground. You're there when there's not too
yeah.
much. So you can easily get into it. It's not like Warhammer or some shit where you're like, oh, you're seeing the fucking blah blah, and you're just like, ah, my mind just broke. Like this is like easy to catch
300
into,
books.
and as things come, you'll already be kind of getting it gradually, so it doesn't feel like you're getting overwhelmed or anything. It's just there's a
Yeah.
small amount of feeding each time, so you'll get all the knowledge you need to. And honestly, just because I already invest a lot just in the world of Destiny and that universe of lore, this what Avatar just seems like a good one to get into, sheerly for the fact that it doesn't feel nearly as big and it feels much more attainable of getting the knowledge you need to for that world, for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess that is everything, guys. Yeah, it was a big, nice episode, and it'll not movie length yet. It's not the length of the film, but we were honestly getting pretty close.
Yeah.
I think we're near the length of the
Whoa.
first film, if anything. But that's been episode 178 of Sutro Sidetalk. The next two episodes, next week, we're gonna talk Callisto Protocol. That'll be fun. And then the episode after will be our 2022 interview episode. We'll talk our top 5 movies, shows, games, anime, as well as kind of top 3 of each of what we're looking forward to next year. I will be talking to Brandon soon. We'll figure out Sutra Sidewatch. Miles, I'll talk to you, Ty and Rob. We're gonna figure out when we've rescheduled like 5 times now, but we're gonna get our up to it down to it episode on Dragon Con soon, so you can finally talk about your first experience there. It'll be a good time.
Being a James Cameron fanboy.
Exactly. And then I'm still working on the kind of steel stuff that's coming. I don't want to give any more updates further, just because basically, 3 other shows to work on and everything else. We'll get it all out there. Otherwise, Miles, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, the Count of S. And basically that's all my social media now. And I'm like the only Avatar stan on Twitter, so I'm sure any fans of the film are gonna have a good time hanging out with me.
And you'll see a lot of his good art. You can see, like right now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see his background of the art he's been using this whole time. If you're on the podcast, if you just want to come and check it out for a second, it'll just take a sec just to see it on YouTube, but it's pretty good.
Oh wait, it's like mirrored.
Yeah. And then you can follow James on Twitter at InvaderJim124. You can follow me at GoGoComzilla. And of course, subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening to or watching. If it's Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. If it's Spotify, please rate us. And of course, YouTube, like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can also follow the show on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Sutro Sidetalk. TikTok, you get the clips. Instagram, kind of like promos that are fine. And then Twitter is really just me giving opinion pieces and trying to talk in comments of other people's tweets, probably. That's about it. But otherwise, hope you guys had a good holiday time and hope you all have a great new year, because I think the next episode comes out after the new year. And we're probably recording after the new year, most likely. We'll see. But yeah, have a great week, everybody. So long.
Thanks for listening.
Take care. Bye.